Chapter 66. Almost all of the player factions were gathering money in preparation for this auction. Of course, Zhao Fu was also quite interested. He had a large amount of money, but it was a pity that he didn't have anywhere to spend it. There were many things that he wanted to buy, but most of the shops didn't interest Zhao Fu at all. Now that there was an auction, Zhao Fu naturally had to participate, so he started to make preparations. A day passed quite quickly, and Zhao Fu brought Bai Qi to a massive building. This was the Red Flower Merchant Alliance's auction house. The Red Flower Merchant Alliance was undoubtedly the largest merchant alliance in the Forest of Horrors, and it had countless businesses in the three main cities. It even had businesses outside of the Forest of Horrors, and it had a very deep background. Even Qin Nin warned Zhao Fu not to offend it. The auction house was completely surrounded by people, and hearing the 8 guards say that the entrance fee was 1 gold coin, countless players felt their hearts ache. 1 gold coin was equivalent to 10,000 copper coins, which was equivalent to $100,000 in the real world. This caused countless ordinary players to stop in their tracks, and they didn't even have the chance to join in on the fun. With how big the auction house was, it would be no problem for it to accommodate thousands of people. Just from this auction alone, they would be able to earn thousands of gold coins. Zhao Fu and Bai Qi paid the entrance fee of 2 gold coins, drawing the admiration of many players. Following this, they walked into the auction house. It was quite big, and it was 1,500 square meters wide. Apart from the hall on the first floor, there were private rooms on the second floor, VIP rooms on the third floor, and supreme rooms on the fourth floor. There were 24 gems that gave off a blinding white light hanging from the ceiling, so it wasn't dark inside the auction house at all. The first, second, and third floors were open to everyone, while the fourth floor was open to the truly powerful figures. Players didn't even need to think about entering. Zhao Fu didn't have any dealings with the Red Flower Merchant Alliance, so he didn't have any VIP cards. However, he could pay some gold coins to get a private room. By now, the first floor of the auction hall was packed with people. There were players and wealthy indigenous residents, and with so many people gathered together, it was quite chaotic. Everyone was chatting, and it was quite noisy. Zhao Fu had wanted to pay some gold coins to get a private room, but he had no choice. Unfortunately, the private rooms were already full. Zhao Fu could only ask for the VIP rooms, but they were full again. He didn't know how many big shots had come. Zhao Fu was speechless. He felt like he had money, but nowhere to spend it. Now he could only squeeze into the crowd. Looking at the crowd, which was like an iron wall, Zhao Fu sighed and walked forward. F*CK. What are you squeezing for, you poor bastard? As soon as Zhao Fu squeezed through, a player in front of him turned his head and said this. Zhao Fu felt quite speechless. He had a lot of coins on him, but now he was being treated as a poor person who had come to join in on the fun. Bai Qi's expression became cold. Even though he didn't understand what that player was saying, he felt that he was cursing at Zhao Fu. Just as he was about to teach him a lesson, Zhao Fu stopped him. Zhao Fu didn't want to cause any trouble, and in the end, Zhao Fu and Bai Qi went to a remote corner. Following this, a beautiful woman in a red dress with an alluring figure walked up to the stage, and the auction officially began. The first item was a top-grade blue-grade weapon. It was a large saber that gave 3 stat points, and the starting price was 800 silver coins. Just as the beautiful woman announced the starting price, someone shouted, 900 silver coins. Just as this person called out the starting price of 900 silver coins, someone else immediately outbid him. The price of the top-grade blue-grade weapon rose higher and higher, and in the end, it was sold for 3,800 silver coins. It was even more expensive than some ordinary silver-grade weapons, and with such a high price, the atmosphere in the auction hall became even more excited. Of course, Zhao Fu wasn't interested in this item, so he didn't participate. The people on the first floor were the only ones bidding, and the second, third, and fourth floors were silent. Following this, another auction item was brought up. It was a pill bottle, and it was unknown what kind of medicinal pill was inside. At that moment, the beautiful woman twisted her body, and under the white light, her mature body was faintly discernible within her red silk dress. Her chest was revealed, and a large area of white flesh was teased, causing the crowd to howl. She saw the opportunity and opened her mouth, saying, "1 bottle of little spirit pills that can double your cultivation speed. There are 50 pills in this bottle, and the starting price is 2,500 silver coins." 3,000 silver coins, someone yelled. Zhao Fu had already refined 90,000 or so little spirit pills, so of course he wasn't interested in them. Seeing that everyone else was bidding, there was some movement on the second floor, and in the end, the bottle of medicinal pills was sold for 6,000 silver coins. Following this, the third item was brought up. It was a blueprint. Eternal Brightness Armor Blueprint can be used to forge blue-grade armor. Price for 1,000 silver coins. The beautiful young woman explained. Zhao Fu had long since obtained a similar blueprint, and he had obtained it for free. After conquering Road Village, he had already been able to forge blue-grade armor. Everyone started to bid, and the people on the second floor were quite interested in the blueprint. At first, the people on the first floor wanted to join in the fun, but the people on the second floor started to bid, and the price had already reached 10,000 silver coins. Zhao Fu could tell that most of the people on the second floor were players, and the indigenous residents didn't care about the blueprint at all. As such, Zhao Fu decided to join the fun. Even though he could easily buy the blueprint and restrict the development of other factions, the intensity of the bidding was simply too great. As such, there were 2 reasons why Zhao Fu didn't participate. Firstly, he didn't lack people, and secondly, if he didn't have the power to sweep away all of them, he didn't want to attract public anger. Many heroes had died to wolves in history, and those who made too many enemies didn't have a good ending. Even if one obtained an opportunity, one shouldn't think that one was the main character. There were simply too many main characters in this world. A person might be able to defeat 2 or 3 people, but could they defeat 30 or so people? Zhao Fu wasn't like the main character in some novel, who had a mocking expression and attracted hatred everywhere and would be fine in the end. However, in the real world, the grass on one's grave would be a few feet tall, and one's opponents would even dance on one's grave and laugh at one's stupidity. Of course, Zhao Fu wasn't afraid of them. It was just that it wasn't time for them to go all out. Sometimes, it wasn't necessarily a good thing to appear too powerful. At that time, although the Qin kingdom was extremely powerful, they had no choice but to take a step back in the face of the alliance of the 6 kingdoms. In the end, they put down their pride and adopted a strategy of getting close to their enemies and breaking the alliance. Since ancient times, the one who laughs at the end is not necessarily the strongest. Whoever obtained the blueprint would definitely benefit their development in the future. However, this was only a blue-gray blueprint, and there were many of them. Even if Zhao Fu stopped them this time, there would still be a next time, and there would be many other ways to obtain it. He couldn't stop others from obtaining it. Chapter 67. Apart from the 6 great families and the 3 great players, there were also 2 unknown forces participating in the bidding. In the blink of an eye, the price of the blueprint had reached 24,000 silver coins. Within a private room, there were a few people sitting around a table. Among them was Jiang Ro, and there was a young man who was a few years older than her sitting next to her. He was Jiang Feng, Jiang Ro's big brother and the successor of the Jiang family. Our Jiang family has to get this blueprint. Roer, it's all thanks to your cloth shop, otherwise I wouldn't have dared to offer such a high price, Jiang Feng said to Jiang Ro with a smile. Jiang Ro nodded lightly and did not reply. Although they were blood-related siblings, their relationship had long since become estranged. In the entire family, only her second brother was on good terms with her. Back then, when Jiang Ro had been asked to marry Zhou Jie, only his second older brother had objected. His second older brother knew what sort of person Zhou Jie was and knew that Jiang Ro would not have a good life if she married him. However, not only did this older brother not object, he even tried to persuade Jiang Ro to marry Zhou Jie. This was because Jiang Feng was the next successor of the Jiang family. If his sister married into the Zhou family and the 2 families worked together, it would be of great help to him in the future. He was actually quite ambitious. He didn't just want to be the son of an ordinary family. He wanted to split the land and become a king. As such, He was willing to sacrifice his sister. The other 11 forces were suppressed by the Jiang clan in the bidding, and they all looked sullen. Within a private room, the Zhou family successor, Zhou Ming, coldly snorted and said, "This Jiang family really doesn't give our Zhou family any face." If this was in the real world, if the various powers were to compete against each other, they might have yelled at each other fiercely. However, in front of the system's powers, they were nothing. After all, if they dared to yell at the system's powers, they would be no different from clowns. Therefore, they suppressed the anger in their hearts and did not say anything. In the end, the price of the blueprint reached 32,000 silver coins. Within a private room, there were two people sitting on chairs with serious expressions. They gave off the aura of soldiers. They were one of the two mysterious factions. At this moment, a young man said to another person, "Captain, do we still need to bid?" Hearing this, the captain sighed. "This price is too high. Forget it, we can't compete with the Jiang family." The young man beside him nodded and stopped bidding. In the other room, there was a middle-aged man with a small beard and a youth playing with various wooden parts. They were one of the two mysterious powers. When the middle-aged man heard the price, he decided to give up. The other families also did the same, and the final blueprint was obtained by the Jiang family. Jiang Feng let out a sigh of relief, as he was not only facing the pressure from the other families, but also praying that the other person would not act. Although the Jiang family was wealthier than the other families, it was nothing compared to that person. From the beginning to the end, Jiang Feng had been bracing himself, praying that the person wasn't interested. Now that the hammer had finally fallen, Jiang Feng could finally relax. The other factions felt quite displeased that the Jiang family had won the blueprint. At the same time, they wondered why that person had not participated in the bidding. He would definitely come to such a big auction, and they did not know which VIP room he was sitting in. They had never thought that the pitiful Zhao Fu wouldn't have a VIP room, and he had been squeezed to death by the people on the first floor. The other factions thought to themselves, what was the meaning of this? With his wealth, he could easily win the blueprint and suppress them, but he did not participate in the bidding. Some people could tell that Zhao Fu was taking the initiative to express goodwill, and their hostility towards Zhao Fu slightly lessened. Following this, the fourth item was a skill book, which Zhao Fu was not interested in. Someone bought it for 6,000 silver coins. Zhao Fu was not interested in the fifth, sixth, and seventh items, so he did not participate in the bidding. The eighth item was a superior silver-grade material, and the starting price was 3,000 silver coins. Everyone started a bid, and Zhao Fu felt quite interested. Just as he was about to speak, a girl who looked around 17 years old and was quite short but quite cute called out, 8,000 silver coins. After looking at her, Zhao Fu gave up because this piece of silver-gray material wasn't worth that much silver coins. Silver-gray materials were worth 5,000 to 6,000 silver coins, and only exquisite gray materials were worth 8,000 silver coins. Moreover, if he joined in the bidding, with how generous this young woman was, after a few rounds of bidding, the price of this material could reach 20,000 silver coins or even 30,000 silver coins. Zhao Fu looked at Zhao Fu and saw that Zhao Fu wasn't willing to spend so much silver coins. Zhao Fu was quite rational in this regard, so he immediately gave up. The silver-gray material was also bought by the girl next to him. None of the following items attracted Zhao Fu's interest, but the people in the VIP room started to bid, and the bidding was quite intense. The 20th item was a pair of wooden sticks that were 2 meters long. The wooden sticks were white, and both ends were quite sharp. There were many runes engraved on them, and they looked quite extraordinary. The beautiful woman explained 6-wood absolute barrier, an advanced isolation magic formation. It can prevent spatial equipment, spatial skills, and teleportation channels from being used. Hearing this, Zhao Fu was delighted. He had long since thought through the god-refining plan, and considering that the godly spirit's clone could escape, he had to prepare an isolation magic formation. Ordinary isolation magic formations were not useful to ordinary people, but they would be useful in future city battles. They could prevent the other side's teleportation channels from being used, and they cost around 20,000 silver coins. Even though it was quite cheap, Zhao Fu was not interested in such an ordinary one. The 6-wood absolute barrier caused Zhao Fu's eyes to light up. The 6-wood absolute barrier's starting price was 180,000 silver coins, which was useless to ordinary people. At the same time, even if they sold everything they had, they would not be able to afford 180,000 silver coins. Even the system factions were quite indifferent to this item. As such, this item caused a lively atmosphere in the auction hall to cool down. Seeing this, the beautiful woman inwardly sighed. This item had not been auctioned off many times already, and it had originally been sold for 300,000 silver coins. However, it had now been reduced to 180,000 silver coins. Seeing how indifferent the audience was, it was likely that the price would continue to fall in the future, or that it could only be stored in the storehouse. "Is there anyone who is interested in this item, sir?" The beautiful woman asked twice, but the audience remained silent. The beautiful woman disappointedly ordered people to carry the 6-wood absolute barrier away so that the next item could be auctioned off. 180,500 silver coins. Chapter 68. Everyone's gazes turned towards the cloaked figure in a remote corner of the first-floor hall, because he was the person who had bid 180,500 silver coins. The cute young girl next to Zhao Fu also looked at Zhao Fu with curiosity. Facing these gazes, even though he was the center of attention, Zhao Fu still calmly stood there. After obtaining the Fate Legacy, his mental state had greatly changed. Hearing his voice and the cloak, many people knew who he was, and they could only sigh. He really was a rich person. At the same time, they felt quite confused. Why would a major figure like him be squeezing through the crowd on the first floor? They could only muse that ordinary people couldn't understand the world of the rich. There were also many people who didn't know who Zhao Fu was, so they curiously asked the people around them about him. When the other player factions saw that he had finally appeared, they started to feel nervous. Zhao Fu had bid 180,000 silver coins in one go. This wasn't something that a player faction could compare to. When Jiang Ro heard Zhao Fu's voice, she happily smiled and left the private room. Jiang Feng didn't stop her, and he instead smiled in support. After all, Zhao Fu was definitely more powerful than the Zhou family. When the beautiful woman on the stage heard that someone had finally bid, she couldn't help but flirtatiously smile as she said, "This has bid 180,500 silver coins. Is there anyone else who wishes to bid? If not, this 6-wood absolute barrier will belong to this sir." Right now, no one was bidding. Who could afford 180,000 silver coins? Moreover, the system factions weren't interested, so in the end, Zhao Fu obtained the 6-wood absolute barrier. Zhao Xin. Jiang Ro walked to the first floor and smiled as she called out. Hearing this, Zhao Fu turned and saw Jiang Ro nod. Jiang Ro then came to Zhao Fu's side and started to chat with Zhao Fu. Within another private room, Zhou Ming's gaze became cold. The Jiang and Zhou families hadn't officially agreed to Jiang Ro and Jiang Ro's marriage, but they had long since come to an agreement. Seeing Jiang Ro so affectionately next to someone else, wasn't this a slap to the Zhou family's face? Thinking back to how Jiang Feng had shamelessly bid for the blueprint, Zhou Ming knew what the Jiang family meant. Although he was furious, Zhou Ming endured it because he knew the current situation. His side was already at a disadvantage. If the two families fought, with a pack of hungry wolves watching from the sidelines, the situation would be very disadvantageous. Following this, another item was brought up. It was a medicinal bottle. The beautiful woman introduced it, saying, "Spirit Explosion Pill, a stage 3 medicinal pill that will explode with all of one's power. The side effect will cause one to be in a weakened state for a few days. This bottle contains 20 Spirit Explosion pills, and the starting price is 80,000 silver coins." Hearing this, many people became interested. After all, this medicinal pill was quite good as a life-saving trump card. However, it wasn't something that ordinary players could afford. Only a few system factions were bidding for it, but in the end, it was Zhao Fu who bought it for 120,000 silver coins. Zhao Fu's expression didn't change as he spent 300,000 silver coins. Seeing how relaxed Zhao Fu was, the surrounding players were all shocked. Following this, another item was brought up. It was an A- grade skill book, Holy Ring Light. It could summon angel sevenfold halos to attack, and the starting price was 200,000 silver coins. This skill book attracted everyone's attention. From an A- grade skill book, wasn't something that ordinary people could come into contact with. Moreover, it was said that it could summon angel sevenfold halos to attack, and just from hearing about it, everyone could tell that this skill was incredibly powerful. Most of the people bidding were in the VIP rooms, and the people in the private rooms and on the first floor didn't have the ability to participate. They could only excitedly watch as the adults bid. The price of the Holy Ring of Light rose higher and higher until it reached 320,000 silver coins. At this price, there were fewer and fewer people bidding, but there were still 5 people intensely bidding. The price had already reached 400,000 silver coins. Everyone present couldn't help but gulp nervously when they heard the price. Zhao Xin, who do you think will buy this skill? Jiang Rou curiously looked at the intense bidding and could not help but ask Zhao Fu. Hearing this, Zhao Fu smiled and called out, 450,000 silver coins. Jiang Rou stared blankly for a moment before realizing that Zhao Fu had also participated in the bidding. He had even increased the bid by 50,000 silver coins. Hearing Zhao Fu shout, the gazes of the countless people on the first floor once again shifted to Zhao Fu. They couldn't help but think to themselves, isn't he a little too rich? He's already spent 300,000 silver coins, and now he's going to spend 45 silver coins. He's truly a godly tycoon. It was likely that the player forces here were all very powerful. That's not even as much as the money he has. The large families and factions in the private rooms looked at Zhao Fu and felt a sense of helplessness. Jiang Feng's smile became even wider. Jiang Feng's smile became even brighter. He had already given up on the Zhou family and placed all of his bets on Zhao Fu. Now, he only hoped that Jiang Rou would be able to win Zhao Fu's heart. Zhou Ming's expression was quite unsightly. His hedonistic little brother had already offended Zhao Fu, and if he made a move in the future, he would definitely look for the Zhou family first. Right now, Zhao Fu gave Zhou Ming a deep sense of danger. Within another private room, a young man said, Captain, this person called Zhao Xin has a lot of money. I heard that he might be a legatee of a kingdom, but I don't know which legatee he is. There are many kingdoms in China's history, and it's fine if he's a famous kingdom. But if he's a small, unknown kingdom, as long as he doesn't announce it, it'll be very difficult to find out. The captain nodded and looked at Zhao Fu as he said, he's very useful to the kingdom, so we must have him join us and serve the kingdom. When the young man heard this, his expression turned serious, and he stood at attention with a sense of mission. He saluted and said, Yes, sir. In another room, the middle-aged man pointed at Zhao Fu through the window and said to the young man on the table beside him, Hunter, look at him. Oh, Uncle Lin. The young man responded and walked to the window. He opened his eyes slightly, and an invisible force spread out from his eyes. In an instant, the young man's eyes turned pure black, and there seemed to be countless gears spinning in his eyes. Uncle Lin, I can't see anything. The young man's black eyes looked at Zhao Fu a few times. All he could see was darkness. He couldn't see anything, so he said to the middle-aged man beside him, Really? The one called Uncle Lin pondered for a while before saying, Huh? Even your inky eyes of heavenly works couldn't see through it, so there must have been an expert interfering. This matter isn't as simple as it seems, so I'll report it to my superiors later. The young man nodded and returned to the table to play with the wooden parts. Then, things returned to Zhao Fu's bid of 450,000 silver coins. This high price caused everyone present to fall silent, and the people in the VIP rooms hesitated, not saying anything for a long time. Chapter 69. After the beautiful woman's reminder, the people in the VIP rooms hesitated and decided not to bid. In the end, the A- grade Holy Ring's light was obtained by Zhao Fu. Everyone looked at Zhao Fu with envy and jealousy before turning their attention to the next item. Zhao Fu did not bid for the next item, and the items were auctioned off one by one. The system factions displayed their true strength, and all of the items that moved countless players were won at high prices. Just like that, 20 or so items were auctioned off, and Zhao Fu did not bid at all. Instead, he stood in a corner, and everyone's gazes fell on the system factions. Following this, the auction came to an end, and the final items were slowly brought out. The first item was a fist-sized rock that gave off a faint yellow light. It seemed to be made of iron, and even though it was only as big as a fist, it required 4 big men to carry it up. The beautiful woman on the stage introduced hard earth rock, a gold-grade material that could be used to forge gold-grade equipment. Bidding price, 300,000 silver coins. Finally, a gold-grade item had appeared. Everyone excitedly stared at the hard earth rock and discussed it, and the scene was quite lively. The first person to bid 320,000 silver coins was immediately surpassed by a few others, and the hard earth rock's price reached 400,000 silver coins. A few people were still bidding intensely. Suddenly, a middle-aged man's voice calmly sounded out from one of the sovereign rooms. 500,000 silver coins. After this voice sounded out, everyone fell silent. This was the first time that someone from the sovereign room had bid, and everyone knew that this person's status was incredibly high. As such, the people who had been bidding all fell silent. The cute girl next to Zhao Fu stared at the hard earth rock on the stage, her eyes shining. It was a pity that she didn't have much money left, so she could only lower her head and sigh. Zhao Fu was very tempted as he looked at the gold-grade ore. Although he couldn't forge a piece of gold equipment right now, he could save it for later. However, even though Zhao Fu wanted to buy it, he had to consider the status of the person in the sovereign room. With his status and power, Zhao Fu naturally could not afford to offend him, nor did he want to offend him for a gold-grade material. After all, he had many businesses in Holy Light City, and if he offended such a major figure, he could directly shut down his business and ban him from teleporting in a Holy Light City. Many people knew this, so the scene quieted down. No one dared to bid. The originally lively auction house suddenly became so quiet that the atmosphere even became a little awkward. Old Wu, with your status, do you really think you lack a gold grade, or? Suddenly, a woman's voice rang out from another sovereign's room. When he heard this, the middle-aged man called Old Wu gave a hearty laugh and said, "I've been sitting here for too long and wanted to have some fun. Don't worry about my identity. Don't worry, I won't take revenge on you after this." When everyone heard his words, they were speechless. Even though Old Wu had said that they didn't need to worry about his status, his subsequent words made it seem as if he would definitely take revenge on him after this. Who dared to bid? As such, the auction house remained completely silent, and no one dared to bid. The beautiful woman on the stage awkwardly asked, "Is there anyone else who wants to bid?" Seeing this, Zhao Fu sighed and decided to give up on this gold grade, or it wasn't worth it to ruin his business for this, or. Seeing Zhao Fu's expression, the cute girl tilted her head and thought to herself. She suddenly thought of something and leapt toward Zhao Fu. 550,000 silver coins. A sweet voice rang out in the quiet auction hall. Instantly, everyone gasped. Who would dare to offend such a grand figure? Everyone's gazes once again fell on a familiar corner, and they saw a cute girl tightly hugging a cloaked figure like an octopus. At that moment, the cute girl said, "I'm his friend. He's paying for me." Fudge! Zhao Fu couldn't help but curse inwardly. However, with so many gazes on him and the girl's words, he immediately realized that he had been conned by this girl. He hurriedly tried to push her away. He didn't know her, but this girl was sticking to Zhao Fu like candy, and no matter how hard Zhao Fu tried, he couldn't push her away. "Very well. This hard earth stone will be won by this, sir," the beautiful woman on the stage said. The beautiful young woman on the stage was also very tactful. She was already very satisfied with the price. At the same time, she knew Old Wu's identity, and with his status, a gold-grade material wasn't much at all. He was just bidding for fun, and even though it was just for fun, the side effects of such a grand figure's words were quite great. For example, the auction house from before had fallen silent, and now that someone had made a bid, She was quite satisfied with an additional 50,000 silver coins. Seeing this, Zhao Fu was about to say wait. However, before he could say anything, a soft hand covered his mouth, and the next item was brought up. The outcome was already decided, and many factions looked at Zhao Fu with schadenfreude. The girl let go of Zhao Fu and giggled to the side. She seemed to be thinking about something, and she even started to drool. Zhao Fu sighed and turned to look at the girl beside him as he asked, "Who are you?" The cute girl came back to her senses and smiled at Zhao Fu as she said, "I'm called Gongsun Bao Bao. There's no need to be so polite. You could just call me Bao Bao." Zhao Fu was speechless. This girl still didn't understand the situation, and he reminded her, "Do you know that you screwed me over just now?" Gongsun Bao Bao laughed and didn't seem to mind as she said, "I think that uncle was just playing around. It's fine. Plus, I don't want your hard earth stone, and I'm going to help you forge gold-grade equipment. You've made a profit, but there's no need to thank me. I'm such a good person." Hearing this, Zhao Fu didn't know what to say. Anyone would believe that she could forge gold-grade equipment, and none of Zhao Fu's subordinates could forge gold-grade equipment. So how could a player do it? Seeing that Zhao Fu didn't believe her, Gongsun Bao Bao angrily pouted and said, "Don't look down on this lady's ability. Our family is the Gongsun family that forged the Scarlet Firmament Sword." Scarlet Firmament Sword? Zhao Fu felt that it was quite familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had heard it. At that moment, Jiang Ro smiled and explained, "The Scarlet Firmament Sword is one of the 10 great swords of ancient times, and it's ranked 3rd. It's below the Xianyuan Sword and the Clear Sable Sword. It's said that Emperor Gaozu Liu Bang obtained it and used it to slay a white dragon and walk the path of an emperor. As such, this sword is also an emperor's sword. It was forged by the Gongsun family." Chapter 70. Hearing this, Zhao Fu nodded and introduced himself, saying, "I'm called Zhao Xin." Hearing his words, Gongsun Lin cutely smiled and nodded, indicating that she remembered his name. Following this, everyone's gazes turned to the next auction item. The next item was a spear that was silver in color. There were intricate carvings on the spear's body, and its sharp tip gave off a cold light, causing people to feel a chill in their hearts and not dare to approach it. This was undoubtedly a gold-grade weapon. At this moment, the beautiful woman on the stage started to introduce the 100-flower silver spear, a gold-grade weapon forged from high-quality mithril. Bidding price, 800,000 silver coins. Because this spear's stats were public, Zhao Fu looked at it and found that it was slightly inferior to Bai Qi's Star Slashing Sword. This was because the Star Slashing Sword had already been strengthened once. If it hadn't been strengthened, the Star Slashing Sword stats wouldn't have been as good as this spear's. After all, it had been eroded by time. Following this, the truly powerful figures started to bid. Everyone else could only watch, and this was the same for Zhao Fu. After buying that hard earth stone, he had spent all of the money he had prepared. In the end, the 100-flower silver spear was sold for 1 million silver coins. This was an astronomical price, and the crowd couldn't help but sigh in amazement. Following this, the second item was brought out. Zhao Fu recognized them. They were 8 irregularly shaped stones that gave off fire tribute energy. They were fire-strengthening stones. The beautiful woman once again introduced, saying, "Everyone knows that strengthening stones aren't easy to obtain, and these 8 fire-strengthening stones were something that our Red Flower Merchant Alliance went to great lengths to gather. They are incredibly rare and can help equipment go through the 4th strengthening process. Bidding price, 2 million silver coins. 4th strengthening?" After hearing her introduction, Zhao Fu realized that equipment could be strengthened many times, but the number of strengthening stones required for each strengthening was different. With how rare strengthening stones were, it was incredibly difficult to gather 8 strengthening stones of the same attribute. No wonder the starting price was higher than that of a gold-grade equipment. In the end, the people in the sovereign rooms fiercely bid, and the 8 fire-strengthening stones were sold for 8 million silver coins. This number was already enough to make countless people look up to it. They didn't even dare to think that there would be so many coins. However, Seeing these big shots compete, everyone was quite excited. The final item was carefully carried up by the 6 big men. It was a massive egg that was 1 meter long. The eggshell was slightly azure, and it gave off a faint light. This made it clear that this was no ordinary egg, and it was definitely an egg laid by an extremely powerful creature. The beautiful young woman on the stage faintly smiled and said mysteriously, "Does everyone know about dragons? That kind of powerful and terrifying creature. Even a single one of them could create a disaster. They were synonymous with nightmares." Perhaps someone had already thought of it. That's right. In front of everyone is a wind dragon egg. Do you want to own an incomparably powerful dragon? Do you want to ride it and soar? Do you want to be above nightmares? Everyone, please start bidding. The wind dragon egg starting price is 8 million silver coins. After the beautiful young woman finished her introduction, countless people fell into shock. They had never thought that the egg in front of them would be a dragon egg. Zhao Fu also looked quite shocked. After all, even ordinary dragons with impure bloodlines were stage 4 creatures. Some purebred wyverns were stage 5 creatures, and stone dragons, earth dragons, and poison dragons were stage 6 creatures. Some pure elemental dragons, such as wind dragons, fire dragons, and ice dragons, were stage 7 creatures. There were also light dragons, darkness dragons, fairy dragons, and crystal dragons, which were stage 8 creatures. Finally, there were chaos dragons, which were terrifying stage 9 creatures. These were all Western dragons, and Chinese dragons were at least stage 8. However, there weren't as many of them as Western dragons. No matter which faction it was, they were all quite weak. Let alone stage 9 creatures. Even an earth dragon would cause a massive disaster. No one had expected that the Red Flower Merchant Alliance would be able to obtain a wind dragon egg. No one knew how they had obtained it. But being able to obtain a wind dragon egg was already a miracle. When he saw this dragon egg, Zhao Fu felt incredibly tempted. It was a pity that he didn't have that much money, and even if he did, he wouldn't be able to keep this wind dragon egg. However, dragons had very long lifespans, and this dragon egg would take at least 2 or 3 years to hatch. Who knew how many years it would take to nurture it? 10 million silver coins. As Zhao Fu thought to himself, the sovereign rooms started to bid, raising the price to 10 million silver coins. However, the price was immediately surpassed by someone else. Gradually, the price of the wind dragon egg reached a level that could cause ordinary people to despair. 42 million silver coins. A hoarse voice sounded out from one of the sovereign rooms. "Everyone, please give Demon Tree City some face and let us have this wind dragon egg." Now that the wind dragon egg had reached such an astronomical price, these major figures couldn't help but become more cautious. They even lowered their pride and spoke to the people from the other 2 main cities. A deep voice sounded out from another sovereign room. "Apologies." 45 million silver coins. This wind dragon egg was incredibly important to any of the system main cities, so how could they let it go? As such, Soldier Forest people didn't hesitate to bid as well. On Holy Light City's side, the person called Old Wu heartily laughed and said, "Apologies then, 50 million silver coins." Seeing this, even though Demon Tree City's people were quite angry that they didn't give the other 2 main cities any face, they understood how important this wind dragon egg was. As such, they sighed and called out, 5,200 silver coins. Following this, the 3 factions fiercely fought over the wind dragon egg, leaving everyone else in a state of shock. The auction hall was quite silent, and only the voices of the 3 factions could be heard. In the end, because this was Holy Light City's main auction hall, they had a great advantage, and they were able to obtain the wind dragon egg for 72 million silver coins. Following this, the auction concluded, and countless people excitedly left. Even though some people hadn't bought anything, after seeing so many precious items and the intense competition between the factions, they were quite satisfied. When they went back, they could even brag about seeing a wind dragon egg with their own eyes. Zhao Fu and Gong Sun Lin went backstage, paid the money, and received their items. After returning to the Westfall restaurant, Gong Sun Lin lay on the table and looked at the hard earth stone on the table. At the same time, she giggled like a child who had received a gift that she wanted. After a while, Zhao Fu couldn't help but say, "You can forge gold-grade equipment now, right?" Chapter 71. Gong Sun Lin came back to her senses and said, "Then help me get a smithy. However, my forging time is quite slow, so you need to be prepared." Zhao Fu nodded. He understood that it was not easy for a player to forge gold-grade equipment, so he prepared to help her find a smithy. "I forgot. What equipment do you want to forge?" "This hard earth rock is suitable for heavy weapons or shields," Gong Sun Lin said to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu paused and thought about it. Heavy weapons and shields? None of his subordinates could use heavy weapons, so he decided to make a shield. The god-refining plan might have to fight with the godly spirit's doppelganger, and a gold-grade shield will be much safer. After making up his mind, Zhao Fu told Gong Sun Lin to forge a shield and went out to get her a smithy. He also bought some supplementary materials for forging gold-grade equipment. That was the end of forging gold-grade equipment. Following this, Zhao Fu returned to the Qin village and gave the A- grade Holy Rings light to Daisy. She was an elven priest and had very high intelligence, but Zhao Fu wasn't sure if she could use holy light skills. Zhao Fu and Old Lo were demon priests, so they definitely couldn't use holy light skills. Daisy had the highest intelligence, so Zhao Fu decided to give it to her. Zhao Fu called Daisy to the side and looked at this mature elf. He handed the Holy Ring's light to her to see if she could use it. Seeing the Holy Ring's light fuse into her body, Zhao Fu let out a sigh of relief. It seemed that she could use it. Seeing that she had successfully used it, Zhao Fu wanted to see just how powerful this skill was. Lu Mei, Wang Ergu, and the others were also quite curious. They went to a cliff made of granite and had Daisy use the Holy Ring's light. By now, Daisy was standing 10 or so meters away from the cliff. She lightly breathed out and closed her eyes. A-grade magic skills were not as easy as casting fireballs, and they were much more difficult. Daisy lightly closed her eyes and stood there, her body giving off a faint white light. Her aura had completely changed, and she looked somewhat holy and pure. Following this, she slowly raised her hand and pointed at the mountain wall. A wisp of white light shot out from her index finger. It was very fast and silent. Like a white line, it reached the mountain wall in an instant. However, at this moment, something strange happened. The wisp of white light split into 2, then into 3, then into 4, and finally into 7 different sized halos. One wrapped around the other and crashed into the hard mountain wall. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the mountain cracked and dust flew into the air. 7 circles of different sizes appeared on the mountain wall. The largest circle on the outside was 10 meters wide, while the one on the inside was 1 meter wide. These 7 circles all went more than 1 meter deep into the mountain wall. It could be seen that in front of this kind of power, ordinary equipment was like trash. In actuality, Daisy had not been able to use the Holy Ring's light's power because her cultivation was only at stage 0 to 5. Moreover, it was her first time using it, so she had not fully grasped the skill yet. When her cultivation was higher and she fully grasped the skill, its destructive power would be hundreds of times greater. However, Zhao Fu was quite satisfied with the power of the Holy Ring's light. If as hell, fireballs landed on the hard mountain wall, they would only be able to blast open a 1 meter wide crater. After returning to Qin village, Zhao Fu took care of some internal affairs. By now, the 2 exploration teams had already explored the surrounding 70 kilometers around Qin village. They had conquered 2 basic villages and 1 intermediate village. Now, Zhao Fu had 27 villages in his hands. At that moment, a soldier came to report that they had discovered a bandit stronghold 74 kilometers east of Qin village. Hearing this, Zhao Fu nodded. Over the past few days, he had been dealing with business matters. Now that he had discovered an advanced village, Zhao Fu wanted to personally lead people to attack it. By now, The area of 70 kilometers around Qin village was already within his control. The bronze concentrate mine was 50 kilometers away from Qin village, so it was not too dangerous. Zhao Fu summoned back 1,000 soldiers and took 3,000 soldiers to the bandit stronghold. A day later, on a bright and sunny morning, Zhao Fu brought a group of people to the bandit stronghold. From a high vantage point, Zhao Fu could see that there were around 5,000 people in the stronghold. The terrain was quite complex, and there was only one entrance, which was the entrance to the stronghold. The walls at the entrance were made of stone, and there were 2 doors made of solid wood. There were a few people patrolling above and below, and the defenses were quite tight. Adding on the terrain, it was easy to defend and difficult to attack. However, Zhao Fu noticed that there was a strange stone platform within the stronghold that was 8 meters tall. A stronghold definitely wouldn't be so bored as to build such a stone platform, so Zhao Fu was quite interested. Now it was time to discuss tactics. With the defenses of a stronghold and the only entrance, it would be impossible for Zhao Fu's people to sneak in, so poisoning the stronghold wouldn't work. Moreover, they didn't know that the bandit stronghold had plundered a large amount of food, so not many people would go out to hunt. Only a few small teams would come out to get some meat, so they wouldn't be able to take them out one by one. It seemed that Zhao Fu had to think of a way to lure out most of the bandits. After thinking about it, Zhao Fu decided to use all of his 350 goblins to pretend to attack the stronghold. Of course, they wouldn't actually attack. In fact, they wouldn't even get close. After all, advanced villages already had shield bearers and archers, and if hundreds of goblins attacked, they would definitely suffer heavy casualties. However, just as Zhao Fu was about to carry out his plan, a soldier came to report that they had captured a few suspicious people. Hearing this, Zhao Fu temporarily stopped his plan and decided to see who they had captured. Following this, a few shabbily clothed youths were brought in. Zhao Fu looked at them and asked, "Who are you?" Some of the youths looked quite scared and panicked, but there was one person who didn't seem panicked at all. He looked at Zhao Fu and asked, "Sir, are you planning to attack the bandit stronghold?" Hearing this, Zhao Fu nodded. Seeing Zhao Fu nod, the others looked quite delighted. At that moment, the young man respectfully bowed to Zhao Fu and did his best to control his attitude. His eyes were filled with hatred as he said, "I am Xiao Jian, the son of the 100 Flower Village's village chief. Our village was originally an intermediate village, and it wasn't too far away from here. However, 3 days ago, we were attacked by these despicable bandits, and a large number of our villagers were slaughtered. The women were either raped and killed, or taken to the stronghold to be used as sex toys. Sir, please take revenge for us." After saying this, the young man and the others knelt on the ground and vigorously kowtowed, begging Zhao Fu for mercy. Hearing the young man's words, Daisy and Liu Mei looked furious, and even Bai Chi's expression became cold. Chapter 72. A plan appeared in Zhao Fu's mind, and he didn't immediately agree to help Xiao Jian and the others get revenge. Instead, he asked, "Were you the only ones who escaped?" "No, sir. 30 or so of us escaped." Hearing that Zhao Fu didn't immediately agree, Xiao Jian's heart sank, but he still respectfully replied. "How many adult men were there?" Zhao Fu asked. "A total of 21 adult men," Xiao Jian hurriedly replied. After hearing Xiao Jian's words, Zhao Fu thought for a moment before replying, "I can help you get revenge, but this will depend on you. Bring the remaining adult men to me." "Thank you, sir." Hearing that Zhao Fu had agreed, Xiao Jian felt quite delighted, and he once again knelt on the ground and kowtowed before leaving. A while later, Xiao Jian returned with 21 malnourished and emaciated men. Seeing that their village had been breached, it was evident that they hadn't had a good time these past few days. In the Heaven-Awakened world, people spawned from the origin, but now that the village was gone, the villagers were refugees and couldn't spawn from the origin. They could only rely on themselves to find the next village. "Do you want revenge?" Zhao Fu asked as his gaze fell on them. Even though they were malnourished and emaciated, they couldn't hide their hatred, and they replied in unison, "Yes." Seeing this, Zhao Fu nodded and said, Give each of them an iron sword." The soldiers obeyed and handed out iron swords to Xiao Jian and the others. Xiao Jian and the others understood what this meant. They were definitely going to attack the stronghold with this, sir, to take revenge. However, what happened next shocked them. They saw that the well-equipped soldiers, who were originally wearing armor, actually took off all their equipment and rolled on the ground a few times. The originally valiant and extraordinary soldiers all turned into refugees. Then they picked up all kinds of wooden sticks as if they were weapons, and picked up a few wooden boards as if they were shields. "Zhang Dahu, you'll lead the troops this time. Follow the plan," Zhao Fu said. Zhang Da nodded and looked at the confused expressions on Xiao Jian and the others' faces as he laughed and said, "Let's go." Xiao Jian could not understand why they had not brought their equipment and ended up like this. What's more, they only had 700 people, while there were 5,000 bandits on the other side. Moreover, it was easy to defend and difficult to attack. How could they defeat them with just their numbers? Are we going to attack the stronghold like this? Hearing Xiao Jian's words, Zhang Dahu smiled and was about to explain his plan when Zhao Fu stopped him. Zhao Fu gave a faint smile as he turned to Xiao Jian and said, "Since you want to take revenge, bring out your courage and fury. Isn't staining your hands with the blood of your enemies the most satisfying thing?" Hearing this, Xiao Jian thought about the tragic experiences that the hundreds of Flowers village had gone through, and his heart was filled with rage. He knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Zhao Fu, saying, "If we die, please take care of the remaining elderly and women. We will repay your kindness in our next life." After speaking, Xiao Jian loudly yelled and led the remaining 20 or so people from the 100-flower village towards the stronghold. Zhang Du also led 700 or so soldiers. On the other side, within the stronghold. "Not good. Not good. There are enemies attacking our stronghold." A sudden shout startled everyone. 3 burly men walked out of the stronghold's hall. They were the 3 leaders of the stronghold, and when they heard the news, they brought a large number of bandits to the entrance of the stronghold. At that moment, they saw that there were less than 800 people, and they were holding lousy clubs, yet they actually wanted to attack their stronghold. They coldly laughed in disdain. "Wang Xiong, Wang Long, Wang Bao, I want you to pay with your lives for the lives of the 800 villagers of the 100-flower village." Xiao Jian charged at the very front and glared at the 3 big men on the stronghold's walls as he roared hatefully. The 3 big men looked at Xiao Jian, and one of them said, "So, what's that brat from the 100-flower village? We let him escape last time, but who would have thought that he would bring so many refugees from somewhere and want to attack our stronghold?" On the other hand, his big sister asked him to serve our big brother, but he refused and even committed suicide in the end. What a pity for that good body of his. Third brother is right, but capturing quite a few women from the 100-flower village isn't bad either. The other burly man also laughed and said. Only Big Brother Ming had a calm expression as he looked at Xiao Jian's group charging over and ordered, "Fire!" Arrows flew out, but most of them were blocked by the simple wooden shields that they had prepared beforehand. Only a few people were occasionally injured, but a portion of the refugees that Xiao Jian had brought ran away in fear. The remaining 500 or so people continued to charge, and another wave of arrows rained down. A few more people were injured, but some more ran away. After the third wave of arrows rained down, the last 200 or so people also ran away. Seeing this, the third brother on the stronghold's walls said mockingly, "What a motley crew. They only charged a few times before running away." The second brother also said, "That's right. I wonder what tricks that brat from the 100-flower village used to gather so many people. Now that they've seen how powerful our stronghold is, they're so scared that they can only run away." "Ha ha!" The third brother loudly laughed and said, "Big brother, we definitely can't let that brat off this time. This time, we can't let this brat go. I'll lead 3,000 brothers to hunt them down." The big brother thought for a moment and nodded. However, he felt that something was wrong, but then he thought about it again. Their stronghold had indeed offended many people, and it was not uncommon for enemies to come looking for them. In order to be cautious, the big brother turned his head and said, "Third brother, take 4,000 people out. Be careful." Upon hearing this, the third brother smiled. "Thank you for your concern, big brother." He then opened the gates to the stronghold, and 4,000 bandits streamed out in a single file, chasing after Xiao Jian. Xiao Jian and the others followed the plan and quickly ran to the side. Before, Xiao Jian had thought that Zhao Fu was sending them to their deaths. Only after hearing Zhang Da's explanation did he understand. On the way, Xiao Jian asked Zhang Da, "Sir, what kind of person is he?" Zhang Da thought about it and did not know how to explain it. So he said, "I don't know what to say, but His Majesty treats us very well, and he's a very powerful person. He always has all sorts of tactics to deal with his enemies. His Majesty is a very charismatic person, and he has the ability to make people believe that he can create a peaceful place in this chaotic world." His Majesty? Xiao Jian understood that this young man, who looked even younger than him, had an extraordinary background. Zhang Dahu did not mind that he had let this slip. After all, Xiao Jian and the others had no one to rely on, and His Majesty would definitely take them in. As such, he had long since treated Xiao Jian as one of his own. Chapter 73. The third brother looked at the escaping Xiao Jian and smiled like a hunter eyeing his prey. Just as he was about to order the archers to fire, swish, 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 the sound of the air being torn could be heard as ballistic bolts tore through the air with immense force. Zhao Fu had brought 200 ballistae this time, and because he had the spatial ring, he did not have to worry about transporting them. So Zhao Fu had brought all of them. 200 ballistae and 600 ballistae bolts that were as thick as a middle finger rained down on the 4,000 bandits. Chi, chi, chi. The crossbow bolts fell one by one, piercing through the bodies of the bandits from top to bottom. The arrowheads sank into the ground, and scarlet blood slowly flowed down the body of the arrows. In just a moment, nearly 600 bandits were nailed to the ground. The scene instantly became incomparably bloody. Having suddenly suffered such a terrifying attack, the group of bandits immediately fell into a panic. Swish, swish, swish. This time, countless ballistic bolts shot out from all directions. Zhang Dahu and the others, who had been pretending to run, didn't even put on any defensive equipment. Instead, they picked up their bows and started to fire wildly. In an instant, countless bandits were killed or injured, and blood dyed the ground red. At that moment, the bandits finally reacted, and the third brother yelled, "Raise your shields." The bandits obeyed and raised their ironwood shields, forming a massive circular shield wall that blocked the incoming ballistae. Xiao Jian looked at the bandits that had suffered heavy casualties and felt incredibly pleased. He was finally going to take revenge. At that moment, the third brother noticed Xiao Jian and realized what was going on. A savage expression appeared on his face as he said, "Brat, I never thought that you would dare to ambush me. I never thought that you would dare to ambush me. I'm going to cut you into 1,000 pieces." "Ha! You villains deserve it. It's time for you to receive your retribution." Xiao Jian roared as he wildly laughed. Seeing this, the third brother was infuriated, and after thinking about it, he also started to loudly laugh. "You probably don't know, but I killed that bitch long ago. I even had a taste of your sister, and she was quite good." Suddenly, hearing his third brother's words, Xiao Jian thought about how his elder sister, who had doted on him the most, had been killed by this person. Scenes of his elder sister flashed through his mind, and Xiao Jian's expression turned sluggish. He weakly knelt on the ground, and tears continuously flowed from his eyes. He felt like a knife was stabbing into his heart. Seeing this, Zhao Fu frowned and ordered, "Spear throwers, prepare to fire the ballistae. Destroy the shield wall." Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Under Zhao Fu's orders, heavy sounds of the air being torn could be heard as ballista bolts containing immense force shot toward the shield wall formed by the bandits. Bang, bang, bang. The crossbow bolts struck the shields, and the arrowheads directly pierced into the shields. The immense force made the bandits feel as if they had been rammed by a bull. The shields in their hands were sent flying, and their bodies were also sent flying. The shield wall formed by the bandits was instantly destroyed by the ballistae. Following this, the javelin throwers hurled their javelins, destroying the shield wall and dealing a lot of damage to the bandits. After the shield wall was destroyed, countless ballista bolts covered the bandits. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Bandits fell to the ground and were shot to death. The third brother was also hit by 2 arrows, but none of his vitals had been hit. Looking at the bandits dying in front of him, the third brother felt incredibly furious. He thought to himself, I'm definitely going to catch Xiao Jian next time and torture him to death. I wonder where he found such a powerful team, so I can only run today. I'll kill you. Xiao Jian's eyes were bloodshot, and his face was completely twisted. He roared at the third brother, as if he had gone mad, and he gripped his iron sword and rushed over. Zhang Dahu wanted to pull him back, but Xiao Jian forcefully broke free, and Zhang Dahu could only sigh. On the other side, when he saw that there were less than 1,500 bandits dead, Zhao Fu stopped shooting. Seeing that Zhao Fu had stopped, the third brother relaxed and prepared to break out of the encirclement. Clatter, clatter, clatter. Suddenly, the sound of countless horse hooves could be heard, and the third brother looked behind him in terror. He saw 10 terrifying skeleton cavalrymen leading 300 cavalrymen wearing azure armor and holding azure spears as they charged over. They gave off a terrifying aura, and they looked like ferocious beasts as they charged over. The third brother felt a trace of fear and completely ignored Xiao Jian. Chi, chi, chi. The cavalrymen were incredibly fast, and they were like incredibly fast azure spears as they stabbed into the bandits. They used their spears to pierce through the enemies in front of them, making them unable to retaliate at all. All of the bandits retreated to the side in terror. Cavalrymen were a very powerful type of soldier in ancient times, and if one wanted to counter them, they would have to prepare cavalrymen or heavy shield bearers. Only then would they be able to stop the unstoppable charge of the cavalrymen. The 300 cavalrymen charged through the bandits like a chopstick stabbing through tofu, but they had caused at least 500 casualties. The bandits' morale plummeted, and they were in complete chaos. They just wanted to escape from this terrifying place. By now, Xiao Jian and the 20 or so villagers from the Hunterflower village had charged into the bandits and started to fight. Wang Bao, I'm going to kill you. Xiao Jian's eyes were bloodshot as he stared at Wang Bao, the third brother, and he rushed over. Wang Bao's expression became savage, and since he couldn't escape, he might as well kill this brat to vent his anger. As such, he drew his large saber and rushed over. Zhao Fu rode on the tall and mighty Little Black and coldly watched everything unfold before him. Little Gray was next to Little Black, its massive head looking down at the battle that was going on. Have the cavalrymen continue to charge and use arrows to kill some of the bandits on the outskirts. Split off a small part of the battlefield for them and give them the revenge they want. As for whether they live or die, it's up to them. By the side, Bai Qi nodded and immediately gave out a series of detailed orders. 2 hours later, the battle concluded. It was currently afternoon, and the sky was incredibly blue. There weren't many clouds, and a bright red, setting sun shone on the corpses on the ground, creating a beautiful scene of death. Zhao Fu rode on Little Black and stepped over the corpses on the ground. He came to a corpse that he didn't know was alive or dead. This corpse was covered with wounds, and there were deep scars on its face. His entire body was soaked in blood, and he looked like a bloody person as he lay in a pool of blood, his eyes empty as he stared at the sky. Only when Zhao Fu came over on Little Black did he weakly call out, "Your Majesty." Zhao Fu lightly nodded and looked at Xiao Jian lying in a pool of blood as he asked, "Do you feel better now?" Hearing this, Xiao Jian nodded with great difficulty before shaking his head and saying bitterly, "Even though I've gotten my revenge, I can't get back what I lost. Right now, there's only an emptiness in my heart. The world is so big, and you'll once again find something to fill the emptiness in your heart. However, do you have the ability to protect it? Right now, you don't have the ability to do so, So you need to become more powerful in order to protect the most important people in your life, Zhao Fu said softly to Xiao Jian. Hearing Zhao Fu's words, Xiao Jian, who was lying in a pool of blood, looked towards the west. The golden setting sun was like a suit of armor covering Zhao Fu's body, and his figure seemed incredibly tall and holy, making him seem incredibly trustworthy. Chapter 74. Hearing this, Zhao Fu lightly laughed. In actuality, I don't have much confidence in unifying the world, but I'll definitely ensure that my subjects have a safe place to live. Xiao Jian laughed and coughed up another mouthful of blood as he nodded. At that moment, Zhao Fu came down from Little Black's back and helped Xiao Jian up, who was lying in a pool of blood. He fed him a special healing pill before having the soldiers carry him away and treat his injuries. In actuality, Zhao Fu had never thought that Xiao Jian would be able to defeat Wang Bao. In terms of strength, Xiao Jian couldn't defeat Wang Bao at all, but Zhao Fu's method of exchanging injuries was incredibly ferocious. Back then, Wang Bao had felt a trace of fear, which was why he had lost. However, Xiao Jian was also heavily injured. This battle could be said to be a complete victory for Zhao Fu. He had killed 3,700 enemies and captured 300 captives. Apart from a few people who had pretended to attack the stronghold and been injured, the rest were mostly unharmed. On the 100-flower village's side, for people had died and the rest had been injured. Moreover, the reason why this battle had been so successful was because of Xiao Jian and his group. If they hadn't appeared, Zhao Fu's plan of luring the enemy would not have been so successful. If he had sent out the goblins, they might have succeeded, but they would have aroused suspicion, and the results would not have been as good as Xiao Jian and his group. Most of the bandits only had weapons, and, apart from shields, they had no defensive equipment at all. Now, it was time for Zhao Fu's main concern. Out of the 3,700 corpses, there were 213 A-grade soldiers and 1 S-grade soldier. Adding on the villagers and corpses from the other villages, Zhao Fu now had 724 A-grade soldiers. As for the 2 S-grade soldiers, Zhao Fu had given them to the gnomes who were researching ballistae. Now, Zhao Fu didn't care about the other corpses. The 10 skeleton cavalrymen rode on skeleton horses and devoured the deathly aura from the corpses, causing their spirit flames to become more than twice as strong. Within the stronghold, the second brother asked curiously, "What's going on? Third brother has been out for so long. Why hasn't he come back yet? Don't tell me he's been chasing that 100 Flowers village brat and won't come back until he kills him?" The big brother frowned, feeling that something wasn't quite right. However, he quickly thought about it and realized that third bro had led 4,000 brothers, and they could easily dominate the surrounding 50 kilometers. No one would be able to annihilate them, and not a single one of them managed to escape. Perhaps I was overthinking things. This big brother relaxed, but he never expected that his 4,000 brothers had long been killed by Zhao Fu to the point that only 300 were left, and that his third brother had also become a ghost under his sword. Big brother. I'll bring a group of people to take a look. That brat, third brat, he's always acting rashly. He didn't even send someone back to report to us, the second brother said. The big brother nodded and said, "Then be careful. Come back immediately if you encounter any danger." Second brother acknowledged and left the stronghold with 100 bandits. On the other side, Zhao Fu was about to order people to casually bury the corpses. As for their various weapons, there were 3,000 or so normal-grade weapons, 10 or so blue-grade weapons, and 1 silver-grade weapon. Apart from the silver-grade weapons, the rest could be sold in Holy Light City, and they would be worth a bit of money. "Your Highness, another 100 bandits are rushing over from here," a soldier reported. Hearing this, Zhao Fu thought for a moment before leading a large number of soldiers to surround the 100 bandits. "Sir, who are you? Why have you surrounded us?" The second brother looked at the people surrounding them with a serious expression. Zhao Fu lightly laughed and said, "What do you think?" When the second brother saw Zhao Fu smile, he felt that something was amiss and hurriedly said, "We are from the 3 Flood Dragon stronghold. I am the second in command of the 3 Flood Dragon stronghold, and we have 5,000 brothers. I hope that Sir can let us go and not interfere with each other." The second brother was quite confused as to why so many elite soldiers had suddenly appeared, but he still brought up the name of his stronghold, hoping that he could escape and tell his big brother about this matter. 5,000 brothers? I think there's only 1,000 left, Zhao Fu faintly said to the second brother. Hearing this, the second brother was startled. He thought about his third brother who had not returned and the 4,000 brothers, and he immediately felt furious. However, he forcefully suppressed it because he could only force a smile and say, "Sir, have we misunderstood something?" Zhao Fu shook his head lightly. Upon seeing this, the last sliver of hope was shattered, and the second brother suddenly shouted, "Bro, let's charge out." But in the next second, at least 100 arrows enveloped the second brother. The second brother was unable to dodge at all and was hit by dozens of arrows. His body was riddled with holes, and he died a miserable death. At the same time, 30 bandits were also killed. Seeing this, the other bandits did not dare to continue running, and they knelt and begged, "Sir, we've already killed you. I beg for mercy." Seeing this, Zhao Fu smiled and thought of a plan as he said, "I can spare you, but you have to do as I say. Bai Qi, take out a 3-poison pill and give it to them." Bai Qi took out a bottle of ordinary healing pills and handed it to the bandits. Wang Ergo understood and held back a smile. He looked at the bandits and bitterly swallowed the medicinal pills. "Now, you should understand that your stronghold is doomed to lose. It's impossible for you to stop us, and your 4,000 brothers have all been slaughtered by us. If you don't believe me, you can go and take a look." As he spoke, Zhao Fu took them to see the incredibly bloody scene. The ground was dyed red with blood, and corpses lay on the ground in all sorts of postures. Some had been shot to death by arrows, some had been nailed to the ground, and some had been pierced through by the cavalry. Before they died, their faces were filled with terror, pain, and all sorts of other emotions. "Sir, I beg you, please spare me." The bandits were all scared witless and knelt on the ground as they cried. Seeing this, a trace of a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face, and he told them about his plan. "Since you understand that you won't be able to win, you should know what to do after you return to the stronghold. I'll give you this bottle of poison. If you don't want to die, do as I say. Not only will you not die, but you will also receive unimaginable benefits." Hearing this, the remaining 70 bandits trembled as they nodded and returned to the stronghold, while Zhao Fu led his people to secretly surround the stronghold. The outcome was already set in stone, and if things went according to plan, they would definitely succeed. Zhao Fu did not have to worry about the 70 bandits betraying him, as they weren't very loyal, and it was quite easy for them to betray Zhao Fu. Moreover, they were scared witless, and with the threat of poison, it was almost impossible for them to betray Zhao Fu. Even if they betrayed Zhao Fu, the only downside would be that they would have to kill a few more people. Some people might want to let them go, but if they betrayed Zhao Fu, the stronghold would definitely strengthen its defenses. Chapter 75. Seeing the 70 or so bandits return, the bandits guarding the stronghold asked curiously, "Why are only you guys back? Where's the second boss?" The bandit who had been instigated by Zhao Fu understood that this was a matter of life and death, so he didn't dare to reveal anything. He smiled and said, "The second boss told us to come back first." Hearing this, one of the guards nodded and said, "Since you're back, I'll go and report this to the boss." "Wait." Another bandit hurriedly pulled the guard out and gestured for the other bandits to follow the plan. "Brother, what's the matter?" The guard who was stopped asked with a puzzled look. The bandit smiled and put his arm around the guard's shoulder as he whispered in his ear, "The second boss, third boss, and 4,000 of our brothers died long ago. That lord has already surrounded our stronghold, so if you want to live, you'll have to do as I say." Hearing this, the guard felt quite startled and nodded in understanding. Following this, the news silently spread, causing the entire stronghold to be filled with a strange aura. There was no one who wasn't afraid of death, but there were some people who were loyal to the big boss. However, they were killed by the other bandits. Right now, the big boss was pacing around the stronghold's hall, feeling that something was off. "Men, go and see if the second boss has returned," the big boss called out, and one of the soldiers who had been instigated pretended to be obedient as he walked out. If it was a normal village, it would be easy to tell that so many people had betrayed them. However, the popular support of bandits was in the negatives, so it was impossible to tell. At that moment, a bandit walked into the hall with a few dishes and a jug of wine. He looked at the big boss, who was standing uneasily, and said caringly, "Big boss, don't worry. Perhaps the second boss and third boss will be back soon. You haven't eaten since noon, so this lowly one specially made a few dishes for Big Boss. Big Boss, please eat some. Don't tire yourself out, or else you'll make us subordinates worry." The big boss looked at the bandits who were so concerned about him and didn't want to eat. However, after hearing those sincere words, he felt a trace of warmth in his heart, and he nodded as he said, "Put it down then." "Yes, yes." The bandit hurriedly replied as he put down the dishes and said, "Boss, I'll be fine. I'll pour the wine for you." Then the bandit poured a cup of wine, gripped the cup with both hands, and slowly handed it over. The bandit casually took the cup of wine and downed it in one gulp, following which the bandit's expression immediately changed. Not a single shred of concern or respect could be seen on his face. Instead, a cold smile appeared on his face. After drinking that cup of wine, the first boss turned his head and saw that the bandit's expression had changed. He was startled and instantly understood what was going on. However, in the next moment, he coughed up a mouthful of blood and glared hatefully at the bandit next to him before collapsing to the ground and dying, unable to rest in peace. The bandit sneered and kicked the leader of the three-dragon stronghold, who had once commanded 5,000 men and was feared by countless villages, from his chair to the ground. In actuality, with the leader's current strength and temperament, it was very likely that he would become an ambitious and ruthless person in the future. However, he had met Zhao Fu early on, which was why he had ended up like this. There was no lack of capable people in this world. Whether it was heroes, ambitious people, or the benevolent, there were trillions of living beings. Only their fresh blood could forge the supreme throne. The path of the king's path was originally a path created by piling up the corpses of these pretentious people. The sky had already darkened, and the stronghold lit torches. They came to the entrance of a stronghold, put down their weapons, and knelt on the ground. Zhao Fu led his people out to accept the bandit surrender. The bandits kneeling on the ground looked at Zhao Fu's power soldiers and the pressure they gave off, and they were so scared that they didn't even dare to raise their heads. Afterwards, everything was resolved quite smoothly. This time, they had subdued 800 or so bandits, killed 20 or so heinous people, and saved 100 or so women from the 100-flower village. After dealing with these matters, Zhao Fu went to the strange stone platform within the stronghold and started to look at it. General platform can raise soldiers' morale. Special stats can change professions to 3 generals, and soldier stats will randomly increase by 1. This special building was quite good. It could change professions to 3 generals, and soldier stats would randomly increase by 1. Zhao Fu had people tear it down and obtain the blueprints for the general platform. He planned to rebuild it after returning to Qin village. He went to the barracks and looked around. There was only a profession change: stone steel. Bandit, F-grade military, description, one of the military professions that does evil everywhere. Effect, receives the skill hack. Following this, Zhao Fu went to the storehouse. He had only come to take a look, but he had unexpectedly found a black ore within the storehouse. Black iron ore, grade, gold, description, can be used to forge gold-grade equipment. Seeing this, Zhao Fu smiled and put the black iron ore, as well as all of the money and equipment within the storehouse, into his spatial ring. Now that he had money, Zhao Fu no longer used the 10 square meter spatial ring. Instead, he used the 300 square meter spatial ring. This was the largest spatial ring that could be bought at shops, and it was a silver grade spatial ring. He spent 400 or so gold coins. Finally, Zhao Fu went to the stronghold hall and was surprised to find that this was a silver-grade village. Zhao Fu chose to conquer it and obtain 100 achievement points. He then chose to relocate it and obtained 6,200 EXP. Zhao Fu had made great gains from attacking the 3 Flood Dragon stronghold, and he rested there for a night. After a day, he returned to Qin village and ordered people to construct the general's platform. Zhao Fu took 1,000 of the 1,100 or so bandits that he had subdued, and the rest were distributed to various places. Zhao Fu then brought a large number of corpses to the region of bones and used the heaven and earth refining formation to turn them into grade orbs. Luckily, refining a grade corpses did not consume too much energy, or else Zhao Fu would not have enough energy stones. The energy stones in the Jade Trough had long since been used up, and Zhao Fu had already used up the energy stones that he had bought from Qingnan. After refining the A-grade corpses into grade orbs, Zhao Fu took out the 3 leaders' corpses and obtained an SS-grade orb and 2 S-grade orbs. The SS-grade orb belonged to the leader, and the other 2 belonged to the 2nd and 3rd leaders. After returning to the surface, Zhao Fu gave the A-grade orbs to the soldiers who had performed well. As for the S-grade orbs, Zhao Fu went through another round of selection. This time, not only did it test one's martial strength, but it also tested one's overall abilities, such as adaptability and strategizing. Chapter 76. Zhao Fu called Xiao Jian over to the side. By now, most of Xiao Jian's injuries had healed, but his body was still quite weak. Moreover, there were a few scars on his face that could not be removed, making his originally good-looking face look quite terrifying. Zhao Fu had said that he would help Xiao Jian get rid of these scars when he obtained some good medicinal pills, but Xiao Jian had refused, saying, "I want to keep these scars so that I can remember everything that happened and become stronger." "Xiao Jian, this is for you." Zhao Fu called Xiao Jian over and handed the SS grade orb to him. Xiao Jian received it and looked at it in confusion. He felt incredibly moved, and he knelt down on one knee as he said, "Thank you, Your Majesty, for looking so highly upon me." Zhao Fu lightly nodded and said, "I look highly upon you, so don't let me down." Xiao Jian hurriedly nodded and thought of something. He quickly took out a blueprint and said, "Your Majesty, I have a wine recipe for my village here. I have a wine recipe for my village, but I don't know if it will be of use to your highness." Hearing this, Zhao Fu took the blueprint and looked at it. 100-flower wine. Recipe. Flowers can be harvested to brew a wine with an enchanting fragrance. After looking at the information, Zhao Fu felt that this would be one of the Westfall restaurant's signature wines. Right now, the Westfall restaurant was only using ordinary grains to brew wine, which was something that most villages could brew. Now that they had this 100-flower wine, they would be able to attract many people. After accepting the recipe, Zhao Fu chatted with Xiao Jian for a bit longer before a soldier came in to report that the general stage had been completed. Zhao Fu went to the side of the general stage because he could change professions to 3 generals. Zhao Fu thought about it and chose the 3 people who had been with him since the beginning: Old Logue, Zhang Dehu, and Lu Mei. After taking care of these matters, Zhao Fu teleported to Holy Light City and arrived at a smithy. The guard outside respectfully called out to Zhao Fu, and Zhao Fu nodded and knocked on the door. Gong Sun Lin's unhappy voice sounded out from within. "Who is it? Hurry up and leave. Don't disturb me." Zhao Fu looked quite awkward as he said, "It's me." Hearing Zhao Fu's voice, Gong Sun Lin ran over and opened the door, looked at Zhao Fu at the door and asked, "Zhao Xian, what are you doing here?" Zhao Fu looked at the current Gong Sun Lin. Her clothes and face were covered in dust. She didn't look cute at all. Instead, she looked like a blacksmith. Hearing her words, Zhao Fu smiled and took out a black iron oregon. After showing it to her, Gong Sun Lin couldn't help but cry out in joy. "Zhao Xian, you actually managed to get your hands on another gold-grade material." Zhao Fu nodded and said, "I want to forge a large blade with this material." Gong Sun Lin nodded happily and said, "After I finish forging the shield, I will help you forge it. Zhao Fu nodded and asked with concern, how long until the shield is ready? About that, Gong Sun Lin tilted her head and thought, it might take another 5 or 6 days. Hearing this, Zhao Fu understood and chatted with Gong Sun Lin for a bit. Seeing how infatuated she looked, he said, there's no need to tell her to be in such a hurry. Hearing Zhao Fu's words of concern, Gong Sun Lin's face became red and she nodded, indicating that she understood. She then ran back to forge the shield. Zhao Fu also left the smithy. Perhaps some people were wondering why Zhao Fu trusted Gong Sun Lin so much and gave her such a precious material. In actuality, Zhao Fu had believed that she was someone from the Gong Sun family from the very beginning because the aura she gave off was not something an ordinary person could have. Moreover, every family had their own aura. For example, these forging families had forged many famous swords in ancient times, but none of them were for themselves. As such, it was impossible for them to be greedy for materials. Moreover, everyone understood that Zhao Fu was one of the giants of the player factions, and anyone who dared to take his materials would not be able to survive in the forest of horrors anymore. Now, every player could only develop in one place, so it was impossible for them to escape. Just as Zhao Fu returned to the Westfall restaurant, someone came up and reported, there are 2 people who want to see you. Hearing this, Zhao Fu nodded and went to the living room. Looking at the 2 people's powerful auras, it was obvious that they were soldiers. Zhao Fu understood something and smiled as he asked, what business do you have with me? The middle-aged man in the lead didn't hide anything and directly said, my name is Tang Zhan, and this is my subordinate, Qiu Wenjie. We are in charge of the military in the Forest of Horrors, and we would like to invite you to join the military and serve the country. In the future, the country will definitely give you all sorts of benefits. Hearing Tang Zhan's words, Zhao Fu's smile didn't change, and he immediately refused. Sorry, I'm not interested in joining the military. What kind of joke was this? Which family would join the military and become the king of a mountain? That was far better than being restricted by rules and regulations, and they would give all sorts of benefits in the future. Zhao Fu was the legatee of the Qin Empire and the future ruler of the Qin Empire. How could he be interested in such a small amount of benefits? Moreover, the military will be unified. Who doesn't have ambitions? It's not certain. Hearing Zhao Fu's refusal, Qiu Wenjie said in dissatisfaction, what kind of attitude is that? Isn't serving the country a very glorious thing? Hearing this, Zhao Fu smiled. Serving the country was a very glorious thing, and in the past, many people were willing to support this. However, times had changed. There were no more wars, and there were no more foreign oppression. People were enjoying the prosperity of the world, and people's hearts had long since changed. Saying such words now wouldn't move anyone, and everyone would treat them as a joke. However, Zhao Fu still felt a trace of respect for the soldiers who were loyal to the country. He respected that they were willing to go through fire and water for the country they were loyal to. They persisted in what they believed in, worked hard, and paid any price. However, if they became enemies, Zhao Fu would still mercilessly kill them all. Even though Zhao Fu didn't want to do such a thing, if it really came to that, Zhao Fu wouldn't show any mercy. The Heaven Awakened world was currently in a chaotic warring period, and everything had to start anew. Seeing Zhao Fu's expression, Qiu Wenjie felt quite angry. Just as he was about to say something, Tang Zhan stopped him and said, Mr. Zhao, I hope you can consider it. The military welcomes you at any time. We still have some matters to attend to, so we'll be taking our leave. Hearing this, Zhao Fu nodded and said, take care. I won't be seeing you off. Following this, on the way back, Qiu Wenjie said unhappily, Captain, what kind of attitude is that? What's with that Zhao Xian's attitude? We've lowered ourselves to invite him, but he still refuses. Chapter 77. Elsewhere, Zhao Fu had taken care of Holy Light City's matters and returned to Qin Village. However, he was told that Li Wen's exploration team had suffered some casualties. When he heard this, Zhao Fu hurriedly went to take a look. Li Wen, what's going on? Zhao Fu asked Li Wen, who was bandaging his wounds after coming to the medicine shop. Seeing Zhao Fu arrive, Li Wen looked incredibly guilty as he said, "Your Majesty, this subordinate deserves to die. This subordinate deserves to die for not leading the team properly, resulting in injuries and deaths." Hearing this, Zhao Fu thought about how Li Wen had always been using his cautious tactics and had always carried them out well. For there to be casualties, it was most likely because they had encountered something unexpected. Zhao Fu didn't blame Li Wen and said, "All right, Li Wen, tell me what happened." Li Wen nodded and started to explain what had happened. Li Wen obeyed and began to speak. Their group continued to explore the passageway and soon arrived at a very large space. This space was 100 meters tall and 500 meters wide. There was nothing inside apart from a strange-looking skeleton. This skeleton looked exactly the same as a normal skeleton in terms of appearance and weapon. The only difference was that this skeleton had a sword-shaped shard that gave off a golden light in front of its chest. "We had been cautious and wanted to report this to your Majesty, but we were discovered by that skeleton. That skeleton was abnormally powerful, and normal holy light techniques didn't seem to have any effect on it. We even managed to shatter the goblin's giant shield with a single slash, allowing us to escape by a hair's breadth." After hearing what Li Wen had to say, Zhao Fu nodded. Indeed, this wasn't Li Wen's fault. However, just what was that skeleton? After thinking about it, Zhao Fu went to Road Village and ordered his people to use bronze concentrate or to thicken the massive shield. Before, Zhao Fu's massive shield had been made of bronze concentrate ore, but the inside was made of ironwood. This was because using bronze concentrate ore to create such a massive shield was quite difficult for the goblin warriors to carry, and it wasn't suitable for long-term exploration. However, this time, it was for that mysterious skeleton. Following this, Zhao Fu teleported to Holy Light City. Since the Holy Light technique was useless, he might as well try something more powerful. He bought 10 temper seals. After making all of the equipment, Zhao Fu led by Qi, Zhangdo Daisy, Sar, Old Logue, 20 goblin warriors, 20 iron hammer infantrymen, 20 archers, and 10 elven priests toward the passageway. The passageway was dark and long. After walking for who knew how long, they finally arrived at the space that Li Wen had mentioned. The space was as big as Li Wen had said. At the center of the space was a skeleton sitting cross-legged. This skeleton was very special. The soul flame in its head was golden, and its body gave off a faint golden light. It did not give off the eerie feeling of ordinary skeletons. As Zhao Fu and the others appeared, the mysterious skeleton slowly stood up. Zhao Fu didn't stand on ceremony and immediately ordered the archers to shoot. Swish, swish, swish. Arrows gave off traces of a mysterious yellow aura as they flew towards the mysterious skeleton. From the start, Zhao Fu ordered the people to use their full strength and use raw-crushing arrows. The mysterious skeleton was very calm in the face of so many powerful arrows whistling towards it. It just stood there, drew its rusty sword, and casually swung it. A formless sword, Qi knocked all of the arrows away, not harming the mysterious skeleton at all. Seeing this, Zhao Fu wasn't too surprised. He knew how powerful this mysterious skeleton was. Following this, the Iron Hammer infantryman's 20 bullets of holy light shot towards the mysterious skeleton. The mysterious figure continued to stand there calmly. She raised her sword and pointed towards the 20 bullets of holy light, causing a formless sword Qi to stab out. The immense power caused the air to tremble, and the countless bullets of holy light were shattered, turning into motes of light and dissipating. Zhao Fu had a serious expression on his face. Long-range attacks were completely ineffective against the mysterious skeleton, and at that moment, the mysterious skeleton walked over. It didn't look as ferocious as the undead, who would kill anyone it saw. Instead, it looked at Zhao Fu and the others with disdain. Bai Qi, Zhang Dahu, and Sar, the three most powerful people in Qin village, walked out from the shield wall. When a mysterious skeleton saw these three people walk out, its body blurred, and it instantly appeared in front of them. Clang! The two swords collided, causing sparks to fly. The mysterious skeleton appeared in front of Bai Qi and the others, and it raised its sword and slashed towards the three of them. Facing this terrifying power, the three of them didn't dare to be careless. Bai Qi used all of his strength and gripped the star-slashing sword with both hands, barely able to block the mysterious skeleton's attack. Bai Qi could be said to be the most powerful person in Qin village, and even he was like this. From this, it could be seen how powerful the mysterious skeleton was. The mysterious skeleton pressed down with its sword, causing Bai Qi to take a step back. It was evident that he wasn't a match for it. Luckily, Zhang Dahu and Sar raised their large sabers and attacked the mysterious skeleton from the left and right, alleviating Bai Qi's crisis. However, Zhang Dahu and Sar evidently weren't a match for the mysterious skeleton, and they both used all of their strength. The large sabers in their hands gave off terrifying saber lights as they slashed towards the mysterious skeleton. However, the mysterious skeleton casually waved its sword, and an arc of light flashed, forcing Zhang Dahu and Sar back a few steps. At that moment, Bai Qi used all of his strength and unleashed a Qi slash. His sword gave off a large amount of sword light as he leapt into the air and slashed towards the mysterious skeleton. The mysterious skeleton easily blocked Bai Qi's full-powered attack, but at that moment, Bai Qi's body suddenly moved to the side, and an arrow suddenly appeared behind him. The arrowhead gave off a cold light as it shot towards the mysterious skeleton's head. Zhao Fu drew his bow and knocked another arrow. That arrow had been shot by Zhao Fu, and if it wasn't for the fact that Bai Qi and Zhao Fu were quite familiar with each other, Zhao Fu wouldn't have done this. After all, he had used all of his strength to shoot out an arrow, and if Bai Qi couldn't dodge it, he would have been injured. Facing this sudden arrow, the mysterious skeleton tilted its head to the side, dodging the arrow. However, it revealed an opening, and Bai Qi took advantage of this opening to once again attack with all of his strength. His sword gave off a large amount of sword light, sending the mysterious skeleton flying. "Hurry!" Seeing this, Zhao Fu yelled out. The 20 infantrymen, 20 archers, 10 elven priests, and old Logue all unleashed their skills, and countless skills covered the mysterious skeleton that had been sent flying. Bang! 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 A series of explosions sounded out as the mysterious skeleton wretchedly fell from the sky. At that moment, a ray of white light soundlessly shot towards the mysterious skeleton. This ray of white light split into 2, then into 3, and then into 4, turning into 7 different-sized rings of light that slammed towards the mysterious skeleton. Daisy kept appearing outside the shield wall and unleashing the light of the holy ring at full power. Boom! The mysterious skeleton was sent flying and smashed into a wall 100 meters away. 7 large circles appeared on the wall, and the mysterious skeleton in the middle was in an even worse state. It looked as if it was going to fall apart, and it fell from the wall. Chapter 78. I have engraved the oath I made that day in my heart, to be loyal to His Majesty for eternity. I will dedicate my life to His Majesty. We will be His Majesty's swords, slashing away the light and darkness. From the heavenly realm to the demonic abyss, under His Majesty's swords, no one can stop Him. Even though 10,000 years have passed, my heart will not change. Under His Majesty's name, I will sweep through everything before me. The mysterious skeleton was holy and dignified, and as it recited the oath, the golden light around its body became brighter and brighter. At the same time, the aura around its body became stronger and stronger, forming shockwaves that blew out in all directions. Everything within 5 meters of it was covered by the golden light, and it did not give off the eerie feeling of an undead at all. Instead, it was like a paladin reciting a king's oath, with the last sound of it falling. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the mysterious skeleton exploded out with an incredibly powerful aura that swept out in all directions like a wild gale. The entire space was covered by the golden light, and the mysterious skeleton's body gave off the sound of metal clashing as a set of golden armor slowly condensed. Within the armor, the image of a person slowly appeared. Even though the person's appearance could not be seen clearly, the person's facial features were quite clear. By now, it was too late for Zhao Fu to stop it. By now, the mysterious skeleton had completely changed, and its powerful aura caused the air around it to become heavy. Seeing this, Zhao Fu summoned Bai Qi and the others and gave them 5 spirit explosion pills. The spirit burst pill was indeed a rank 3 pill. Logically speaking, it was a powerful pill that people who had yet to reach rank 1 would not be able to come into contact with. At the very least, one would have to reach rank 3 to come into contact with it. However, they had yet to reach rank 1, so the powerful effect after using it was obvious. Bai Qi and the others' eyes became blood red, and traces of blood red aura rose up from their bodies. The 5 of them exploded out with powerful auras, and their combined auras were not any weaker than the mysterious skeletons. As the 2 powerful auras clashed, the air became even heavier, making it difficult for people to breathe. The mysterious skeleton did not dare to underestimate them, and it raised its golden sword as it rushed towards the 5 people. Bai Qi, Zhang Dehu, and Cao also rushed up to meet it. Clang! 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 Massive collisions sounded out as the mysterious skeleton did not seem to be at a disadvantage against Bai Qi's group of 3, simultaneously dealing with their attacks. Old Logue raised his wooden staff and chanted, causing all of the energy in the surroundings to gather towards him, forming a berserk gale that blew up dust and sand. Blood-red fireballs condensed above Old Logue's wooden staff, giving off an extremely destructive aura. Old Logue's blood-red eyes stared at the mysterious skeleton. Taking advantage of the fact that Bai Qi and the others had retreated, he waved his wooden staff, sending 10 hell fireballs flying towards the mysterious skeleton. The mysterious skeleton snorted coldly and swung its sword. The air seemed to have been cut open, and a golden ray of light that was more than 10 meters long flashed past. Bang, bang, bang. Old Logue's 10 hell fireballs exploded, turning the area into a sea of flames. Suddenly, countless black wooden spikes that were 1 meter long rained down towards the mysterious skeleton. Daisy and the 10 elven priests had attacked together. Facing the countless wooden spikes, the mysterious skeleton gripped its sword and spun around, forming a powerful sword chi tornado. It formed an extremely powerful sword chi tornado, and countless sharp wooden spikes descended, colliding with the sword chi tornado. Wood splinters flew everywhere, and the black wooden spikes were all sent flying. The mysterious skeleton stopped its sword chi tornado, but at that moment, the 10 elven priests stretched out their right hands towards the mysterious skeleton. The 10 elven priests used the Holy Hall magic seal to attack, and a sun diagram lit up on their palms, shooting out 10 golden beams of light that gave off a searing aura. The 10 searing golden beams of light shot over, causing the mysterious skeleton to feel quite startled. However, it was already too late to dodge, so it could only use its sword to block. Bang! The 10 golden beams of light smashed into the mysterious skeleton's body, causing a massive explosion. The mysterious skeleton was knocked back, sliding back 10 or so meters before coming to a stop. White smoke rose from its body, as if water had fallen onto red-hot iron. Even though the mysterious skeleton no longer looked like a normal skeleton, it was still a skeleton, and holy light skills dealt double damage to it. The mysterious skeleton became furious, and it stared at Zhao Fu, who was controlling everything from behind a shield wall. In the next second, it charged at Zhao Fu. However, Bai Qi and the other 2 elven priests would not let it attack, and they continued to tangle with it. Facing Bai Qi and the other 2 elven priests, the mysterious skeleton slashed out with a powerful sword light, forcing them back before once again rushing at Zhao Fu. However, in the next moment, another 10 massive hell fireballs appeared above the mysterious skeleton, looking like 10 blood-red suns. The mysterious skeleton's expression hardened, and it chose to evade the descending hell fireballs. However, the destructive power of the hell fireballs was not something that could be dodged completely. Taking the attack head-on, the mysterious skeleton's golden armor dimmed slightly. After rushing out of the hell fireballs, the mysterious skeleton was once again given a big fright because countless ballista bolts were shooting at it with immense power. Seeing that the infantrymen were no longer of much use, Zhao Fu took out 10 ballistae from his spatial ring and handed them to them. Facing so many ballista bolts, the mysterious skeleton did not dare to be careless. It quickly swung its sword, sending out countless rays of sword light that blocked all of the ballista bolts. At this moment, Daisy's eyes were gently closed. She raised her head, and a ray of holy light seemed to land on her body. The surroundings were also illuminated by her, and specks of white light slowly descended from above. Under the holy light, she looked so beautiful and pure. Daisy slowly opened her blood-red eyes and looked at the mysterious skeleton that had just blocked all of the ballista bolts. She lightly raised her hand and pointed at it, and a ray of white light shot out from her index finger. It was like a white line that silently arrived before the mysterious skeleton, causing it to look quite confused. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the mysterious skeleton was once again slammed into a wall. This time, the largest of the 7 circles was 30 meters wide, and it was miraculously imprinted on the wall. The mysterious skeleton's golden armor had completely shattered, and it lay on the ground on its last breaths. Seeing this, Zhao Fu was about to order people to finish it off when the mysterious skeleton shakily stood up and raised its sword high into the air, pointing it towards the heavens. Glory to His Majesty! Following this, the mysterious skeleton roared, and the entire heavens and earth seemed to fall silent. It was as if time had stopped, or as if there was no sound in the world. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as the mysterious skeleton exploded out with a golden pillar of light that shot into the sky, illuminating the entire dark region as if it was daytime. Under the golden pillar of light, the mysterious skeleton's expression was holy and dignified, and it gave off a power that could cause people to feel despair and terror. It formed a powerful gale that wreaked havoc, and the ground started to crack. The rocks in the surroundings also collapsed, and a terrifying aura assaulted everyone's fragile hearts. Chapter 79. Under this terrifying aura, everyone was like a lone boat in the middle of the ocean, and an unstoppable sense of fear spread through everyone's hearts. The mysterious skeleton's gaze was cold as it looked at Zhao Fu, and it started to walk towards him. Seeing this, Bai Qi and the others had no choice but to brace themselves and rush up. However, the mysterious skeleton didn't even look at them. It casually swung its sword. A massive wave of sword chi swept towards the 3 of them. Bai Qi and the others desperately tried to defend, but they were still sent flying. The 3 of them fell to the ground and coughed up blood, and their bodies were dyed red with blood. They collapsed to the ground and didn't even have the strength to stand up. This was the mysterious skeleton casually swinging its sword, yet it heavily injured Bai Qi and the others. Bai Qi and the others were the 3 most powerful people in Qin village, yet they seemed so weak. Swish, 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 ballista bolts containing immense force flew out, and the mysterious skeleton coldly harumphed as it slashed out with its sword. A massive crescent moon-like sword chi turned the countless ballista bolts into dust, and the massive sword chi did not stop there. Instead, it continued to descend towards the ballista. Boom! The massive sword chi slammed into the 10 ballistae, causing a massive explosion to sound out as the ballistae were turned into dust. A 20-meter-wide crater appeared on the ground, and 2 infantrymen who were unable to escape in time were killed and turned into a mist of blood. At that moment, a ray of white light once again silently arrived before the mysterious skeleton. Daisy once again acted, and the ray of white light split into 2, then into 3, then into 4, and finally into 7 different-sized rings of light. However, just as the rings of light were about to form, the mysterious skeleton's sword chi caused the 7 rings of light to shatter, causing them to dissipate into motes of light. Powerful, absolutely powerful. Terror, fear, despair, and powerlessness filled everyone's hearts. The mysterious skeleton wasn't someone that anyone could stop. At that moment, the mysterious skeleton's cold gaze once again turned toward Zhao Fu, who was protected by countless people within the shield wall. It slowly leaned forwards, and the sword in its hand gave off a clear sword hum as it gave off a blinding golden light, making it look like a sword of light. Bang! The mysterious skeleton lightly stomped on the ground, causing the ground to shatter. The skeleton's entire body became like a golden beam of light as it shot toward Zhao Fu. Countless soldiers desperately tried to block in front of Zhao Fu, but they were all sent flying. In an instant, the mysterious skeleton arrived before Zhao Fu. It raised its sword high, wanting to kill Zhao Fu with a single slash. "Your Highness!" Countless people coughed up blood and collapsed to the ground. Looking at the scene before them, they cried out in fear. Boom! A heaven-shaking explosion sounded out as the 2 peerless powers collided, forming a massive shockwave that spread out in all directions. The ground directly collapsed, forming a 10-meter-wide crater. A large amount of jet-black aura rose up from Zhao Fu's body, looking like a demonic flame. Zhao Fu's expression was dignified, and his gaze was cold, as if he had become a completely different person. He held a bronze sword and blocked the mysterious skeleton's sword, and his body gave off an extremely dense aura of killing and conquering. By now, Zhao Fu had already used a large amount of fate in the 12 metal colossi's power, as well as the bronze swords in the 12 metal colossi's hands. The mysterious skeleton was quite confused. It had never thought that Zhao Fu would be able to block its sure-kill attack. Looking at the dense aura of killing and conquering from Zhao Fu's body, the mysterious skeleton's expression became serious as it retreated 10 meters away. "Hurry and leave." Zhao Fu saw the soldiers struggle to their feet, wanting to join in. However, Zhao Fu ordered them to retreat, as this was not a battle they could participate in. Hearing Zhao Fu's dignified and unquestionable order, the soldiers understood that they were too weak and could not participate at all, so they obeyed and retreated. At that moment, the mysterious skeleton once again started to attack Zhao Fu. Its body instantly disappeared and reappeared at Zhao Fu's side, and its sword gave off enough power to split mountains as it slashed towards Zhao Fu's waist. In response, Zhao Fu turned and blocked with his sword. Clang! The 2 swords collided, resulting in a massive sound of metal colliding. Just as Zhao Fu blocked the attack, the mysterious skeleton suddenly raised its leg and kicked toward Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu vigorously clenched his fist and met the kick. Bang! The fist and leg collided, resulting in a massive explosion. Both sides retreated 10 or so meters, but the flesh on Zhao Fu's fist was torn, causing blood to drip onto the ground. On the other hand, the mysterious skeleton was completely fine. This was the benefit of not having a physical body. Suddenly, the mysterious skeleton once again rushed at Zhao Fu, and seeing this, Zhao Fu did not continue to passively defend. He raised his bronze sword and pointed it towards the heavens. A few traces of black aura wrapped around the sword, and a blood-red spark appeared at the tip of the sword. The spark grew larger and larger, forming a massive fireball that was 10 meters wide. It was like a blood-red sun, and it gave off a destructive aura as it illuminated the surroundings. At that moment, the mysterious skeleton was given a big fright and hurriedly dodged. Zhao Fu also slashed down at the mysterious skeleton, and a massive fireball shot towards it like a red ray of light. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out, and just as the fireball was about to hit the mysterious skeleton, it split into 10 or so afterimages and completely avoided the terrifying hellfire ball. Boom! However, in the next second, Zhao Fu appeared in front of the mysterious skeleton, and the blade of his sword shone with a black light. He slashed with all his strength, and the mysterious skeleton was sent flying 100 meters away. The mysterious skeleton crashed into a wall, and the wall immediately shattered and collapsed. However, in the next second, a ray of light shot out from the pile of rubble and crashed into Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu was also shocked and hurriedly used his sword to block in front of him. Bang! Zhao Fu felt as if he had been hit by a giant beast, and he was sent flying 100 meters away. The wall also collapsed, and Zhao Fu vomited a mouthful of blood. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth on the ground and stood up from the pile of rubble and looked at the mysterious skeleton. At that moment, the mysterious skeleton's aura was more than 10 times more terrifying than before, and it had already formed a physical force field. The air seemed to distort, and the ground slowly sank. The mysterious skeleton dragged the 4-meter-long golden sword over, and the ground was like tofu, and there was a deep sword mark on it. Under this terrifying aura, Zhao Fu's body instinctively started to tremble, but Zhao Fu suddenly bit his tongue, and the intense pain stopped his body from trembling. Seeing the mysterious skeleton walk over, Zhao Fu tightly gripped the bronze sword in his hands and released all the power in his body. The mysterious skeleton also slowly raised its 4-meter-long golden sword, and it slashed down toward Zhao Fu. Boom! The air seemed to be split into two, and the sword chi was like a massive river, crashing into Zhao Fu. Although Zhao Fu used all his strength to block it, he still seemed so weak. The huge river of sword chi crashed into Zhao Fu, and a 30-meter deep hole appeared in the wall. Chapter 80. Within the depths of the passageway, Zhao Fu lay on the ground, covered with blood. He weakly took out 6 bottles of little spirit pills from his spatial ring, roughly 300 or so little spirit pills, and consumed all of them. He also consumed the remaining 15 spirit burst pills. However, as soon as he swallowed all of the pills, Zhao Fu felt as if a pair of large hands were gripping his heart, causing it to give off muffled sounds as the medicinal energy within his body chaotically flowed out. Ark! Zhao Fu roared in pain as his body doubled in size and his veins bulged. His entire body was red, and traces of blood seeped out of his skin. Zhao Fu's body was on the verge of exploding. Following this, Zhao Fu continuously roared in pain as large amounts of blood-red aura rose out of his body. On the other side, the 12 metal colossi next to the Qin village's city heart hummed, and massive amounts of killing and conquering energy madly entered Zhao Fu's body. Boom! An explosion sounded out as an extremely powerful energy exploded out from Zhao Fu's body, causing the ground to crack and collapse. The mysterious skeleton's gaze was cold as it looked at the large amounts of black and blood-red aura coming out of the cave. Bang! Suddenly, a figure rushed out and slammed into the mysterious skeleton. The mysterious skeleton hurriedly used its sword to block, but it was immediately sent sliding back 10 or so meters. A figure now stood where the mysterious skeleton had been. Zhao Fu's appearance had completely changed. His muscles bulged and his expression was savage. His eyes were blood-red and started to bleed, and large amounts of black and blood-red aura came out of his body, making him look like a demon god. He held a bronze sword in each hand, and there were 4 bronze swords floating behind him. The 6 bronze swords all gave off an azure light, and they looked like an azure windbreaker as they slashed towards Zhao Fu's body. After pushing back the mysterious skeleton, Zhao Fu rushed towards it. In an instant, he appeared above the mysterious skeleton, and his 2 swords gave off terrifying power as they slashed towards the mysterious skeleton. The mysterious skeleton coldly harumphed, and its 4-meter-long golden sword lightly hummed as it also slashed out with terrifying power. Boom! The 3 swords collided, resulting in a massive explosion. The air seemed to explode, and the ground was unable to withstand this power, causing it to crack and collapse. In an instant, a 500-meter wide, 50-meter deep pit was formed. At the bottom of the crater, a golden sword light flashed, and countless pieces of earth and gravel were sent flying. The mysterious skeleton crawled out, looking somewhat wretched. Looking at Zhao Fu, the mysterious skeleton dragged its 4-meter-long golden sword and roared as it charged at Zhao Fu. The 4-meter-long golden sword behind it gave off a clear sword hum, and strands of golden aura flowed out of the sword, giving off terrifying destructive power. The ground was unable to withstand this power, and as the mysterious skeleton rushed up, the ground behind it also began to collapse bit by bit. Zhao Fu raised the sword with both hands, and adding on the 4 swords behind him, the 6 bronze swords gave off clear sword hums. An azure sword light covered the surrounding 100 meters, and an extremely powerful sword aura formed. Under this terrifying aura, the ground started to melt. The mysterious skeleton rushed in front of Zhao Fu and gripped its 4-meter-long golden sword with both hands. It started to swing, and it gave off a terrifying destructive power as it slashed toward Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu raised his 2 bronze swords and gave off an extremely powerful sword aura as he slashed towards the mysterious skeleton. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as Zhao Fu's 2 swords collided with the mysterious skeleton's golden sword. It was as if space itself had exploded and everything around it was reduced to nothingness. Time and space seemed to have disappeared. On the other side, even Bai Qi and the others, who had escaped quite far away, could hear the explosions and feel how terrifying this battle was. It was on the level of destroying the heavens and destroying the earth, and they were as powerless as a group of ants, only able to tremble in the face of this terrifying power. After returning to the battlefield, Zhao Fu and the mysterious skeleton were both sent flying back and crashed to the ground. Zhao Fu coughed up a large mouthful of blood, and the mysterious skeleton was not in a good state either, because cracks had appeared on its golden bones. Zhao Fu gritted his teeth and once again got up from the ground and rushed at the mysterious skeleton. The mysterious skeleton also got up and dragged its sword as it rushed at Zhao Fu. Explosions continuously sounded out as the 2 of them started a terrifying battle. Everything around them was reduced to nothingness as they fought. Sword him! The mysterious skeleton used the same technique as the skeleton general from before, and 8 massive golden sword chi slashed toward Zhao Fu, leaving behind 8 terrifying ravines in the ground. Zhao Fu raised a bronze sword, and countless traces of blood red and black aura wrapped around the sword, causing the simple and unadorned sword to look like a demonic sword. Blood-red orbs of flames appeared at the tip of the sword, and 30 or so massive fireballs instantly appeared, looking like 30 or so small suns that gave off terrifying power. Zhao Fu's sword descended towards the mysterious skeleton. The 30 or so massive fireballs also flew towards the mysterious skeleton. Boom! The 8 massive rays of golden sword chi collided with the 30 or so massive fireballs. The 2 extremely terrifying powers combined into an even more terrifying power, turning into a massive spherical shockwave that seemed to be able to destroy everything. Everything in the surroundings was reduced to dust, and a massive shockwave instantly covered the mysterious skeleton and Zhao Fu. After the dust settled, a 1,000-meter wide and 100-meter deep crater could be seen in the ground. Because of the battle between Zhao Fu and the mysterious skeleton, the crater had become even larger. On one side, Zhao Fu crawled out from a pile of rubble, covered in blood, while on the other side, the mysterious skeleton's body was covered in cracks as it crawled out. By now, both of them had used up all of their power, and their lives were on the brink of death. However, it was time to decide the victor. Sword! Absolute! Heavens! The mysterious skeleton stood up and raised its 4-meter-long golden sword, pointing it towards the sky. It roared, and a golden pillar of light rushed into the sky. Rays of golden sword chi flew into the sky, forming clouds made of sword chi. Shing! Shing, shing. Countless rays of sword chi collided in the sky, forming traces of golden lightning. A power that seemed to be able to destroy the heavens, and the earth came out from the golden clouds. Zhao Fu stood up, covered in blood, and he roared as he exploded out with a black pillar of light. Shing, shing, shing. The 12 ancient bronze swords gave off a humming as they hovered above Zhao Fu's head. Traces of terrifying black lightning flashed around them, and a power that could destroy the heavens and the earth and cause all creatures to feel fear slowly spread out. Chapter 81. The entire space violently trembled under the two terrifying powers, and even the ground beneath them started to tremble. Countless creatures felt as if they were facing a disaster, and flocks of birds flew high into the air while beasts started to run away in fear. In the underground space, the two skeletons started to unleash destructive power. The mysterious skeleton gripped the golden sword tightly with both hands and roared loudly. It poured all of its power into the golden sword that was raised high up in the air. Golden arcs of lightning wrapped around the 4-meter-long golden sword. Boom! The mysterious skeleton slashed down towards Zhao Fu, and the power of this strike was indescribable. It was as if the heavens and earth were collapsing, and all creatures were going to perish. On the other side, Zhao Fu's body was covered with blood, and he spread out his hands as he roared. The 12 bronze swords above his head gave off shocking black sword lights, giving off a heaven-toppling aura of killing and conquering. Zhao Fu brought his hands together with great difficulty, and the 12 bronze swords fused into a shocking black sword light that shot towards the mysterious skeleton. This terrifying black sword light was indescribably powerful, and as soon as it shot out, it was as if the heavens were going to be destroyed, laws would collapse, and gods would die. Very quickly, the shocking black sword light collided with the black sword light. Boom! An explosion that sounded as if the world was going to be destroyed sounded out as everything collapsed and disappeared. A massive pillar of golden and black light, bringing with it a power that seemed to be able to destroy everything, rushed up from the ground and into the clouds, causing the blue sky to darken and the clouds to change color. Everyone in the Forest of Horrors heard this terrifying sound. The evil flood dragon in the Forest of Horrors, the pure young woman in Holy Light City, the armored man in Soldier Forest, and the green-robed elder in Demon Tree City were all given a big fright, and they all looked towards the direction of Qin Village. After the ordinary people recover from their shock, they felt that sound was quite strange and started to discuss what had just happened. Within the depths of the Forest of Horrors, the evil flood dragon hurriedly moved its nest away from Qin Village. The 3 people from his system main cities all had grim expressions before sighing, "We'll come, we'll come." Turning his gaze back to the center of the battlefield, he saw that there was a 10,000-meter-wide hole in the ground. The surroundings were deathly silent, and the birds and beasts had long since fled. At this moment, the remnant energy made it so that no living creature dared to approach. The 2 figures fighting had also disappeared. 5 days later, Zhao Fu weakly opened his eyes and looked at Asani, who was carefully feeding him medicine. Asani had been carefully feeding the medicine to Zhao Fu, and she was about to finish feeding him the rest of the medicine before casting a healing spell to help Zhao Fu recover. Asani was an elf priestess, but because of her personality, her battle skills were quite low-leveled. However, her healing skills were abnormally high-leveled. So Li Si had asked her to take care of Zhao Fu while healing Zhao Fu's injuries. When Asani saw that Zhao Fu had woken up, she happily ran over and yelled, "Your Majesty's awake." Following this, everyone hurried over to Zhao Fu's side. Seeing that Zhao Fu had woken up, they all let out a sigh of relief. Zhao Fu couldn't help but smile as he said, "Why are you all so worried about me? We players won't die. We just won't be able to enter the Heaven-Awakened world for 10 days. Your Majesty, what are you saying? Even though you won't die for real, you're our respected Majesty, so we can't help but worry," Li Si said warmly as he cupped his hands. Hearing this, Zhao Fu felt a warm feeling in his heart. At that moment, Bai Qi handed a sword-shaped shard that gave off a golden light to Zhao Fu and said, "Your Majesty, the mysterious skeleton you killed didn't drop anything other than this. When you killed that mysterious skeleton, you didn't drop anything other than this item." Zhao Fu took the shard, which was the shard that had been embedded in the mysterious skeleton's chest. During that final confrontation, Zhao Fu hadn't expected to survive, nor had he expected to kill the mysterious skeleton. As such, he had used all of his strength to unleash that final attack. This shard was about 4 centimeters long, and one side was the blade while the other side was damaged. However, it still gave off a brilliant golden light, and Zhao Fu felt quite curious as to what it was. King Armament, shard. A shard of a king armament, but it contains a large amount of ancient king's power. It is an extremely dangerous item. So this is a king armament that requires 24 general armaments. Also, what is that ancient king's power? Zhao Fu suddenly thought of the golden light around a mysterious skeleton's body. Could that be ancient king's power? Could it be that the mysterious skeleton was so powerful because of this shard? This shard should be able to be fused. Right now, Bai Qi's star slashing sword was of the highest quality, but it was for fusing with general armaments. Zhao Fu now had 89 soldier souls, so he would most likely be able to use them soon. Apart from this, there are also 2 gold-grade pieces of equipment. 5 days later, the gold-grade shield had been forged by Gongsun Lin, and she was most likely forging a large saber. These 2 gold-grade pieces of equipment were not for Zhao Fu, and Zhao Fu did not care about them. Following this, an idea flashed in Zhao Fu's mind, and he ordered people to call Road over. Following this, Bai Qi used a teleportation channel to go to Road Village and brought Road to Zhao Fu's side. Road, the big-bearded gray dwarf, came to Zhao Fu's bedside and respectfully asked, "Your Majesty." The gray dwarf with a big beard, Road, came to Zhao Fu's bed. "May I know what business you have with me?" Zhao Fu took out a rusty bronze command medallion. This was the undead commander's tally that Zhao Fu had obtained before. Following this, Zhao Fu took off his silver-grade spatial ring and handed the 2 items to Road, asking, "Do you think these 2 pieces of equipment can be combined?" Road took the command medallion and spatial ring and looked at them carefully before replying, "Your Majesty, it's a small matter. They can be fused together, but it will take a few days." Hearing this, Zhao Fu nodded and said, "Go and forge them." Luther quickly took the 2 pieces of equipment and left. At this time, Zhao Fu also put his mind on the matter at hand and asked, "Did anything happen while I was asleep?" Li Si thought for a moment before replying, "Your Highness." General Bai Qi once again ordered the 4 teams to continue exploring the Forest of Horrors, as well as the Bone Spatial Tunnel Exploration team. Hearing this last matter, Zhao Fu's expression became serious as he said, "The Bone Spatial Tunnel isn't simple, and I don't know how it was formed. Tell the exploration team to be extremely careful and not to be careless. If there's any danger, retreat." Li Si nodded when he heard Zhao Fu's words. Following this, there was nothing else to do, and Zhao Fu focused on recovering from his injuries. A few days passed in the blink of an eye. Because Asani had been taking care of him, the 2 of them had become more familiar with each other, and Asani was no longer as afraid of strangers. Chapter 82. Your Majesty, the ring that you ordered me to forge has been completed, Road said as he handed over a gray-white ring. Zhao Fu didn't look at the ring stats because Zhao Fu had only asked Road to fuse the 2 pieces of equipment together. Back then, Zhao Fu had thought that rather than fusing a king armament shard into a normal piece of equipment, it would be better to fuse a king armament shard into a special piece of equipment. Zhao Fu took out the sword-shaped shard that gave off a golden light and fused it with the gray-white ring. Seeing the sword-shaped shard slowly fuse into the ring, the appearance of the ring started to change. After fusing with the sword-shaped shard, the gray-white ring became a pure gold ring. A system announcement sounded out in Zhao Fu's mind. System announcement. The 10 skeleton cavalrymen within your ring have fused with the ring and become ring spirits. As long as the ring isn't damaged, the 10 skeleton cavalrymen cannot be killed. System announcement. Your 10 skeleton cavalrymen have received King's power, and their undead grades have changed. The 10 skeleton cavalrymen have become Chief Class Undead. System announcement. Your 10 skeleton cavalrymen have received King's power, and their profession has changed. They have become King's Undead Cavalrymen. System announcement. Your 10 King's Undead Cavalrymen's equipment has been contaminated by King's power and has become their life equipment. The equipment will evolve with the King's Undead Cavalrymen. Hearing this system announcement, Zhao Fu hurriedly summoned the 10 skeleton cavalrymen. Wait. The King's Undead Cavalrymen had most likely been released. The 10 King's Undead Cavalrymen dismounted from their skeleton horses and knelt on one knee. They placed their hands in front of their chests and lowered their heads as they respectfully said, "King." Zhao Fu felt quite surprised. He had never thought that the 10 King's Undead Cavalrymen would be able to speak, and they had a certain level of intelligence. After all, ordinary undead didn't have any intelligence and only had instincts. By now, the 10 King's Undead Cavalrymen's appearances had greatly changed. Their spirit flames had become golden, and their bronze equipment had become a faint golden color. At the same time, their warhorses no longer gave off the eerie feeling that the skeletons had. Zhao Fu looked at the King's Undead Cavalry's attributes and class description with interest. King's Undead Cavalry, SS Plus Grade Military. Description: Skeleton cavalry that has gone through a transformation after obtaining the King's power. Effects: receives King's power and Death's power. After looking at this profession's description, Zhao Fu felt quite shocked. This was an SS Plus profession. Without a doubt, this profession was incredibly powerful. After all, Zhao Fu's Demon Priest was only a D- grade skill, but it was already a very powerful profession. However, the King's Undead Cavalry surpassed C, B, A, and even ordinary S grade professions, reaching SS Plus grade. However, it was a pity that there were only 10 of such powerful professions. Of course, there were benefits to these 10 King's Undead Cavalrymen. As long as Zhao Fu's ring wasn't destroyed, these 10 King's Undead Cavalrymen were indestructible existences. After looking at the profession's description, Zhao Fu looked at the King's Undead Cavalry's attributes. They were incredibly powerful, and their stats were many times greater than before. They even had 4 powerful skills. Undead Cavalry's body, SS Plus grade. Description: reduces all skills by 200% and nullifies F grade skills. Undead Cavalry's charge, SS Plus grade. Description: explode out with immense power and charge at all enemies. Death Slash, S Plus grade. Description: uses Death's power to release a terrifying attack. Undead Resurrection, SS Plus grade. Description: can use corpses to summon a large number of undead that will obey your orders. Out of these 4 powerful skills, the one that Zhao Fu was most interested in was the 4th skill, Undead Resurrection. As long as a corpse wasn't a high-grade corpse, it would be useless to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu had seen on the forum that some people had obtained skills that allowed them to summon undead, but there were restrictions. They had to control Death's power, and the undead that they summoned were incredibly weak. At most, they would only have 10% of their original strength. Moreover, after summoning, one would need to constantly consume mental strength. Once they lost the support of their master's mental strength, the specter would disappear or go out of control. Most people who obtained the necromancy skill could at most control a few specters, and their strength wouldn't be very strong. Zhao Fu wondered how many undead the King's Undead Cavalry could summon. Luckily, the King's Undead Cavalry already had basic intelligence, and they could communicate with each other through their minds. Zhao Fu found out that the skeletons that used Undead Resurrection could retain 80% of their strength from when they were alive, but this strength could only be lower than the King's Undead Cavalry. In other words, this skill could not be used on corpses that were stronger than the King's Undead Cavalry. However, the king's undead cavalry was a chief undead, and they could control 300 skeletons. 10 kings' undead cavalry could control 3,000 skeletons, and as the king's undead cavalry became stronger, they would be able to control more skeletons. This meant that Zhao Fu could create an undead army. This made Zhao Fu feel quite delighted. Using the undead would cost him nothing, and if he used his own soldiers, they would die for real. After looking at the king's undead cavalry stats, Zhao Fu didn't put them away. He planned to have them go with the Forest of Horrors exploration teams to kill monsters and increase their levels while expanding the 3,000 skeletons. Following this, Zhao Fu looked at the ring stats. King's Ring, Undead, Grade, Legendary, Stats, all stats +5, Description, a ring that has fused with an Ancient King Armament Shard. Receives bonuses from the Ancient King Armament Shard. Gives 400% bonus to EXP, 200% bonus to achievement points, 200% chance of spawning S-grade or above people, 200% limit for special professions, and 10% bonus to all villages. After looking at these stats, Zhao Fu was dumbfounded, and he wondered if he had received a cheat. This ring's stats didn't need to be mentioned much, but in the future, the amount of EXP1 obtained from cities will be increased by 4 times, achievement points will be increased by 2 times, the chance of spawning S-grade or above people would be increased by 2 times, the chance of spawning special professions would be increased by 2 times, and all villages below Lord grade would be increased by 10%. Chapter 83. System Announcement. You have put on the King's Ring, and the Ancient King's power has entered your body. System Announcement. You have undergone unknown changes. After Zhao Fu put on the ring, it gave off a golden light that covered Zhao Fu's entire body. Zhao Fu felt some kind of power enter his body, and he could clearly feel that his body had undergone unknown changes. System Announcement. The Ancient King's power has caused you to undergo unknown changes. System Announcement. The Ancient King's power has entered your body. Because you are the legatee of a kingdom and have obtained a kingdom's fate legacy, you do not need to establish a kingdom. You have unlocked the king's profession and obtained your own king's power. After hearing the final system announcement, Zhao Fu did not quite understand what it meant. So he opened the king's profession and looked at it. King grade, description, a profession that can only be unlocked after establishing a kingdom. It can be passed down to the next generation, surpasses military professions, and represents a supreme king. Effect, receives king's power. After looking at the description, Zhao Fu looked at its stats and found that there were no changes. He stretched out his hand, and a faint golden light appeared in Zhao Fu's hand. This was not the Ancient King's power, but his own king's power. The king profession was different from the fixed abilities of the ordinary soldier profession. It did not have any skills or attribute bonuses. This was because the king profession needed to be developed by oneself. It was a profession that advanced along with one's own advancement. In other words, it was a growth profession. Therefore, it was not strong at the beginning, but in the later stages, it might not be weaker than divine power. Before, Zhao Fu had felt his heart ache from using up so much fate, but now, it seemed that it had been worth it. The value of this sword-shaped shard was far greater than the amount of fate he had used up. After all, as long as his foundation was not damaged, he would slowly recover his fate. In the future, there would be battles between nation armaments, and those battles would not be any inferior to battles between godly spirits. After all, it would be an intense clash between kingdoms. Of course, nation armaments were not things that ordinary kingdoms could have. Only a kingdom that had unified a dynasty could have a nation armament. In terms of the number of nation armaments, if China said that it was number 2, no one would dare to say that it was number 1. In ancient times, everything revolved around China, and it could be said that China was a place where the heavens and earth gathered fate. That was why there were so many dynasties and nation armaments. Now that Zhao Fu had obtained this king's ring, his stats had greatly changed, and there were many things that he wanted to take care of. For example, the The special professions had doubled, and Zhao Fu could choose some of them to change professions. Also, with the S-grade bonus, Qin Village would have 4 S-grade villagers every month. After dealing with these matters, an honest-looking middle-aged man came to Zhao Fu's side with 3 bottles of wine and said respectfully, "Your Majesty, I'm very interested in this matter. The 100 flowers wine you gave me is ready." The honest middle-aged man's name was Sun Yi, and he was originally a farmer who loved to brew wine. Unknowingly, his brewing skills had reached an advanced level, and he had been promoted to the manager of the winery, in charge of brewing wine. Before, Zhao Fu had given him the recipe for the 100-flower wine, and now he had finally brewed the finished product. Zhao Fu looked at the 3 wine bottles in front of him with a puzzled expression. Sun Yi, who was beside him, hurriedly explained, "Your Majesty, the first one was brewed with 8 types of flowers, the second one was brewed with 16 types of flowers, and the third one was brewed with 32 types of flowers. All of the wines have different fragrances and tastes. Your Majesty, please taste them one by one to see what they taste like." Hearing this, Zhao Fu didn't know much about wine. He opened the 3 bottles, and the aroma of wine immediately spread out. The third bottle's aroma was incredibly dense, and it couldn't even be called wine. It was more like an expensive perfume. Zhao Fu poured some wine and took a sip. The fragrance immediately entered his body, and the wine was very light and soft. After drinking it, he felt as if his entire body was giving off a faint fragrance. Following this, Zhao Fu drank the other 2 wines. Although they didn't taste as good as the third wine, they were still high-grade wines. Zhao Fu renamed these 3 wines. The first was the flower fragrance wine, the second was the moonflower wine, and the third was the drunken flower wine. In the future, these 3 wines would definitely become the Westfall restaurant's signature wines. Now that the Systems restaurant saw that Zhao Fu's Westfall restaurant's business was doing so well, they weren't stupid. They also started to hire player-level chefs, and some of Zhao Fu's restaurant's business was taken away. Of course, this couldn't go on. In the future, when players became more powerful, the competition would become even greater. As such, if he wanted to win, he had to have something that others didn't have. Zhao Fu asked Sun Yi how many of the 3 wines he had brewed, and after hearing that there was quite a lot, Zhao Fu brought the 3 wines to the Westfall restaurant. Zhao Fu called everyone else over and had them taste the wine to see how it tasted. Everyone else curiously ran over. The fragrance of this wine was definitely something that countless women would like. Seeing everyone else's expressions of enjoyment, Zhao Fu understood the value of this wine. At this moment, He Xianru, who was wearing a veil and gave off a classical beauty's aura, walked over. However, just as her gaze fell on Zhao Fu's body, 2 rays of golden light shot toward her, causing her eyes to hurt so much that she couldn't help but take a step back. Zhao Fu noticed her reaction and asked curiously, "What's wrong?" He Xianru lightly shook her head and recovered from her temporary blindness. She raised her bloodshot eyes and said, "Zhao, I have something to tell you." Zhao Fu felt quite confused, but he still nodded and agreed. After arriving at a hidden room, He Xianru bowed and said, "Congratulations, Your Majesty. You have obtained king's power." Hearing this, Zhao Fu felt quite shocked. How did she know? However, when he thought back to her reaction when she had entered the room, he sighed and said, "The 100 schools of thoughts people really can't be judged like normal people." Zhao Fu nodded in response. At this moment, He Xianru said, "Your Majesty, my daughter also has some suggestions." "My daughter also has some suggestions. Do you want to listen?" Zhao Fu thought for a moment before replying, "Go ahead." He Xianru also said, "Your Majesty, your king's power hasn't fused with fate yet. The reason why kings are so powerful and can rule over kingdoms and not fear godly spirits is because kings are fused with the fate of the heavens and earth." Hearing this, Zhao Fu felt quite surprised because he didn't know much about this, nor did he know how to develop his king's power. However, from what He Xianru said, it seemed that she understood this power quite well and knew how to use it. Following this, Zhao Fu and He Xianru started to converse in detail. Zhao Fu asked about the things that he didn't understand, and He Xianru answered them in detail. Chapter 84. The two of them smiled as they walked out of the room. Hui Qing ran over and said, "Beautiful master, I've been looking for you for a long time. What were you doing in the room with the boss for so long? Did you do something to my master?" Hearing this, Zhao Fu felt quite speechless. After observing Hui Qing for so long, Zhao Fu realized that this boy had some sort of background. However, he hadn't said anything about it, and he didn't know why He Xianru had taken him in as a disciple. He Xianru glared at Hui Qing and said, "How impudent! Go back and cut 100 carats." Hui Qing's expression immediately became bitter as he said, "Don't. Beautiful master, I was wrong. I just wanted you to teach me how to cook." Following this, the two of them returned to the kitchen, while Zhao Fu went to the entrance of the Westfall restaurant and poured out 3 bowls of different flower wines. As the saying went, fragrant wine didn't need to be hidden in a dark alley. Zhao Fu directly placed them in the middle of the street, and the fragrance of the wine immediately filled the air. Countless people crowded over and asked, "Boss Zhao, what wine is this? Why does it smell so good?" Zhao Fu smiled and said, "These are 3 types of flower wines that our Westfall restaurant specially developed. Right now, all 3 of them are 50% off for 3 days. Good. Boss Zhao, give me a jug." As he spoke, countless people surged into the Westfall restaurant, wanting to taste the 3 types of flower wines. Zhao Fu had already decided on the prices of the 3 wines. The first flower fragrance wine was 8 silver coins, the second moonflower wine was 30 silver coins, and the third drunken flower wine was 500 silver coins. In actuality, the 100-flower wine only cost 20 or so copper coins, which was quite high. This was especially so for the third drunken flower wine, which cost 50,000 copper coins, which was 2,000 times more than the cost. It could be said that Zhao Fu was ripping people off. However, one couldn't blame Zhao Fu for being ripping people off. Some people didn't come to eat for the taste, but for the show. If the price wasn't high, it wouldn't reflect the value of the wine. The third drunken flower wine was for the upper-class people, and 500 silver coins wasn't much to them. Soon after, news of the Westfallens' flower wine spread, and many people came to visit. Business became many times better than before, attracting the envy of countless people. Zhao Fu went to a smithy, knocked on the door, and entered. Gong Sunlin was preparing something, and seeing Zhao Fu come in, she smiled and said, "Zhao Xin, I've already forged 2 pieces of gold-grade equipment for you. What do you think?" Hearing this, Zhao Fu turned his gaze to the side. There was a large golden shield that was half the height of a person, and there were some rhombus-shaped patterns on its surface. There was also a long and slender blade with a groove in the middle. The blade was abnormally sharp. Just as Zhao Fu was about to look at the equipment's attributes, he curiously asked, "Why doesn't this equipment have a name?" Gong Sunlin took out a small notebook and ran over. "I haven't thought of a name for the equipment yet. Zhao Xian, what do you think we should call these 2 equipment?" Hearing Gong Sunlin's words, Zhao Fu thought for a moment before replying, "How about Divine Martial Shield and 9 Mystic Saber?" Gong Sunlin happily nodded and smiled as she said, "Zhao Xian, you really know how to name things. I've been thinking for a long time, but I still haven't thought of a good name." As she spoke, Gong Sunlin took out a pen and started to write on the notebook. "What are you doing?" Zhao Fu asked curiously. Gong Sunlin continued to write as she replied, "This is a rule of our forging families. Every time we forge an item that we like, we will record it down in detail. This is our forging family's godly armament list. Every person has their own godly armament list, which records everything that we've forged in our lifetime." "Oh." Zhao Fu nodded. Gong Sunlin waved her hand. An array of light shined on the 2 pieces of equipment, giving them names. Divine Martial Shield. Grade, Gold, Stats, Strength +10, Constitution +12, Description. A large shield forged from hardest earth stone that has extremely powerful defense. 9 Mystic Saber. Grade, Gold, Stats, Strength +8, Constitution +8, Agility +6, Description: a saber forged from black iron stone that is abnormally sharp. Zhao Xian, I'm leaving. We'll meet again in the future if we have a chance. While Zhao Fu was looking at the equipment stats, Gong Sun Lin finished writing and put away her notebook as she spoke to Zhao Fu. Hearing that Gong Sun Lin was going to leave, Zhao Fu felt quite disappointed. He understood that she had wanted to stay because she wanted to forge gold-grade equipment, and now that she had forged gold-grade equipment, it was time for her to leave. Zhao Fu thought about it. Since players could only stay in the Forest of Horrors, with Gong Sun Lin's ability to forge gold-grade equipment, Zhao Fu couldn't help but ask her to stay. However, Gong Sun Lin lightly shook her head and refused, saying, "Thank you, Zhao Exen, but people from forging families like to wander around the world without a fixed home. We spend our lives searching for rare materials and perfecting the godly armament list, so we won't stay in one place. I want to go to other places to have a look." Zhao Fu could tell that she wanted to leave the system main city and the Forest of Horrors to go to the wilderness. However, with her age, could she really survive in the wilderness? Zhao Fu's Qin village was in the wilderness, so he knew how dangerous it was. As such, he couldn't help but warn her, "It'll be very dangerous." I know, Gong Sun Lin replied as she lightly smiled. Seeing how fearless and resolute she looked, Zhao Fu couldn't help but ask, "Is forging really that important?" Gong Sun Lin showed a maturity that was not supposed to be at her age. She responded softly and said, "We are only born for forging, and we are also destined to die for forging. Perhaps this is the fate of every one of us from forging families." Zhao Fu fell silent, and Gong Sun Lin didn't say anything else. She returned to the side and packed her things before looking at Zhao Fu. She squeezed out a smile as she said, "Goodbye, Zhao Xian." Zhao Fu sighed and said, "Wait a moment." Hearing this, Gong Sun Lin nodded in confusion. Following this, Zhao Fu turned and left the smithy. After a while, Zhao Fu handed a ring to her. This was a ring that could store living creatures, and it was 10 times more expensive than a normal spatial ring. It also had less space than a normal spatial ring, only about 6 square meters. Within the ring was a high-quality black forest horse. Right now, the system main cities didn't sell horses, and most residents used ordinary brown horses. If Zhao Fu took out this black forest horse, countless people would be shocked. Zhao Fu gave the black forest horse to Gong Sun Lin in hopes that she would be able to escape if she encountered danger. With the black forest horse's speed and ability to leap over obstacles, ordinary people wouldn't be able to catch up to it. "Thank you, Zhao Xian," Gong Sun Lin happily said to Zhao Fu as she took the ring. Zhao Fu lightly shook his head as he replied, "No need. I haven't thanked you for forging those 2 gold-grade equipment for me yet." Gong Sun Lin replied, "We're helping each other out. I also need good materials to train my abilities." Chapter 85. After returning to the Qin village, Zhao Fu gave the 9 mystic saber to Zhang Dahou. As for the divine martial shield, Zhao Fu gave it to a goblin warrior with exceptional strength. If they obtained an S-grade orb in the future, he would also give it to that goblin warrior. After taking care of these matters, Zhao Fu went to the Heaven Prayer platform. What he needed to do now was to fuse his king's power with his fate. He sat cross-legged at the center of the Heaven Prayer platform and calmed himself down. He followed the method that He Xianru had taught him, and countless traces of fate from the Qin village flowed towards him. A ferocious black dragon appeared in his body, slowly fusing with a dazzling golden ball of light. Following this, Zhao Fu opened his eyes and stretched out his hand, and an orb of black light appeared in his hand. Apart from being different from the golden orb of light, there were faint dragon inscriptions on the orb of black light. Zhao Fu pressed the orb of black light against the Heaven Prayer platform. A black semicircular barrier spread out, and there were a few dragon inscriptions on the black barrier. This was Zhao Fu's king's domain. It could be seen as a barrier or a protective barrier. Its effect was to make one immune to all damage and skills. Of course, right now, Zhao Fu's king's power was still quite weak, so the king's domain could not be immune to everything. However, in the later stages, it would be possible to do so. In the later stages, it would no longer be a battle between armies, but a battle between kings. Zhao Fu changed his way of thinking and started to actively participate in battles instead of hiding in the back. When he obtained good materials in the future, Zhao Fu wanted to forge his own king's sword. After fusing with his king's power, Zhao Fu realized that he hadn't left the heaven-awakened world in a long time, so he returned to the real world. He casually ate some food and opened the heaven-awakened world for him, as usual. Many things happened. The friction between China and the surrounding countries became more and more intense. The current China was no longer ruled by Confucianism. It was no longer a country that valued peace and was always reasonable. Instead, there were hundreds of schools of thought contending with each other. There was no need to be reasonable anymore. This was a world where the strong preyed on the weak. They would directly start a war. Some of the small countries that had been acting like clowns had been beaten into submission. Even the leaders of the countries in the real world had stood up and said humbly, "I hope that peace is the most important thing. Don't fight and kill, we want peace." At that moment, China, the sleeping dragon, was gradually awakening. It displayed its terrifying power and occupied the #1 position in the world. China also became the most eye-catching country in the world. In addition, the successors of Great Xia, Great Shang, Great Zhou, and Great Han all stood up and shouted, hoping to meet with Qin's successor. This matter attracted the attention of countless factions. After all, Qin was not some unknown country, but one of China's 5 great ancient kingdoms. It was incredibly dangerous, but this mysterious Qin successor had yet to appear. Now that the 4 other legatees had come out, what did this mean? This immediately attracted the attention of all of the factions, and the Ying family was incredibly worried. After searching for so long, they still hadn't been able to find him. After all, bloodlines were incredibly complicated, and they could become hundreds or even thousands of people. Now that thousands of years had passed, it was impossible for the Ying family to find all of the bloodlines that had been lost. Even though this matter had attracted the attention of countless factions, the mysterious Qin's successor still hadn't appeared. This was like a thorn in the hearts of many factions, making it impossible for them to sleep at night. As long as Qin's successor appeared, no matter how powerful he was, they would be able to feel at ease. However, the fact that they couldn't fathom his strength made them feel even more fearful. Zhao Fu didn't plan on revealing himself. After all, revealing himself wouldn't bring him any benefits, and there would be countless disadvantages. Zhao Fu wasn't stupid. Zhao Fu didn't pay much attention to these topics and continued to look at other threads. Suddenly, he saw a method to earn achievement points limitlessly. Limitless achievement points? Is that even possible? Zhao Fu felt quite curious and clicked on it. It said, "I'm going to tell you about a massive benefit. I'm going to teach you how to earn achievement points limitlessly in the heaven-awakened world. If you don't have enough achievement points, take a look. There are 2 main ways to earn achievement points. One is by conquering villages, and the other is by killing powerful demon beasts. I'm going to show you the first method, which is to use conquering villages to earn achievement points. First, you need a city creation stone and a person to work with you. You would first use a city creation stone to create a village, then have someone attack it and conquer it. You would then attack and conquer it, and after doing this a few times, your achievement points would skyrocket. This method can only be used a few times. What I'm going to teach everyone is to farm achievement points without limit. So, listen carefully at home. Use the first method to farm achievement points a few times, then choose to migrate the village, then rebuild it, and then continue farming and migrate again. This way, you can farm achievement points without limit. Please believe me, it might not work once or twice, but it will definitely work after a few more times. I promise. He was absolutely not lying. After reading the post, Zhao Fu felt that it made sense, but he also felt that something was amiss. If he really mastered this method and sold it to an aristocratic family, the benefits he would get would be unimaginable. Would he really give it up for free? Zhao Fu scanned the comment section, and the first one, called Dong Ri Feng, said, "It's true. He's telling the truth. I've earned a lot of achievement points." The second little girl said, "Tower Master, I love you so much for teaching us this wonderful method." The third fifth brother said, "Big brother's really a good person. A living Lei Feng doing good deeds." There were 10 comments on the first page, and all of them said that this method would work. However, this post already had tens of thousands of replies, and Zhao Fu curiously clicked on the last page. Wolf Fong Fudge. Damn liar. Conquering it multiple times doesn't give you any achievement points, and the city creation stone has been damaged. Lonely man. I'm going to F*CK OP's little chrysanthemum. Believe your sister. Compensate me for my city creation stone. Runaway child. Damn liar. Screw your ancestors. Your elder wanted to rule the world, but now it's all been destroyed. Tell me your address. Zhao Fu looked through 10 or so pages, and apart from a few people on the first page, everyone else was cursing. This post wasn't about farming achievement points at all. It was about scamming people. This person had most likely gone to farm achievement points on a whim, but he had accidentally damaged the city heart, so he had come to scam others. The people in front of him were most likely his accounts, and he was using them to trick the ignorant spectators. Chapter 86. Zhao Fu smiled. There was no such thing as a free lunch in this world, and there was no such thing as a quick fix. It was impossible to get something without sewing. He continued to browse the forum and read other news. After that, Zhao Fu took a look at the list of the 10 great swords of the ancient era. The first is the Xianyuan sword, the sword of sages. The second is the Zhanlu sword, the sword of benevolence. The third is the Crimson Firmament sword, the sword of emperors. The fourth is the Tai Yi sword, the sword of might. The fifth is the Heptagram Dragon Abyss sword, the sword of integrity. The sixth and seventh is the Ganjiang Moxie sword, the sword of true love. The eighth is the Yuchong sword, the sword of courage. Shadow-bearing sword, exquisite grace sword. These were only the top 10 swords. There were actually many more swords, such as the Gongbu sword, evil-slaying sword, gigantic crescent sword, panning sword, heroic Chao sword, as well as the spring and autumn warring states period Gojia of the Yu Kingdom. There was also the sun concealing sword, broken water sword, soul-turning sword, Xianjian sword, startling centipede sword, soul vanquishing sword, evil annihilation sword, true steel sword, and the 9-crow sword, azure frost sword, Mo Luobin sword, azure dragon sword, and so on. There are also many famous swords that did not need to be mentioned in detail. The sword was the symbol of the way of the king, while the saber was the symbol of the way of dominance. As such, most kings would wield a sword. Zhao Fu did not know if these ancient swords still existed, but each one was most likely a peerless weapon. When it came to weapons, Zhao Fu preferred swords. Perhaps in the future, he would also gather all sorts of rare materials and forge a few famous swords that would be passed down in the world. After looking through this information, just as Zhao Fu was about to close his computer and enter the Heaven Awakened world again, a knock sounded out from outside, following which a voice said, "Mr. Zhao, our miss, she invites you over." Outside the door was the voice of the bodyguard who was responsible for protecting him. Zhao Fu didn't know what was going on, but he still went over. Following this, he saw Yingxi elegantly sitting by a lake with a few female attendants beside her. Zhao Fu walked over and realized who he was, and he said, "Big Miss Shi, it's not a big deal. Why are you looking for me?" Yingxi said unhappily, "Zhao Fu, I've already said that there's no need to be so polite. You're also a member of the Ying family, so just call me by my name." Now that he was living under someone else's roof, he had to do whatever the other party said. As such, Zhao Fu could only apologize and call out, "Yingxi." Yingxi lightly laughed as she replied, "There's a gathering in a bit. Go prepare." Party? Zhao Fu did not want to go to such a gathering. Firstly, he did not like bustling places, and secondly, He was afraid that his identity would be exposed. He was afraid that he would meet someone who was proficient in fate. So Zhao Fu normally did not go out. Now that Ying Shi wanted him to go, Zhao Fu really did not want to go. As such, he cautiously said, Ying Shi, I personally don't like crowds, so I'm sorry. Before Zhao Fu could finish his sentence, Ying Shi cut him off. Yes, never mind. I'll take you to meet someone, and you can leave after that. Seeing that he could not refuse, Zhao Fu could only nod and agree. He followed a woman who looked like a housekeeper and changed into a suit. Following this, Zhao Fu waited in a room wherein she also changed into a snow-white dress and appeared before Zhao Fu. At this moment, she looked absolutely beautiful. She had a beautiful face and tender skin. She was wearing a snow-white dress and had a crystal necklace on her neck. She looked like a princess. However, Zhao Fu was not in the mood to admire her beauty, and he was currently thinking about what to do next. Zhao Fu, let's go. Ying Shi had changed into a formal dress and saw Zhao Fu sitting there with his head lowered. Hearing this, Zhao Fu came back to his senses and nodded as he silently followed behind her. Following this, Zhao Fu and Ying Shi came to a large hall. The gathering had already started, and there were many handsome men and beautiful women present. All of them had extraordinary bearings, and they were most likely from the Ying family. When they saw Ying Shi, they all smiled and greeted her. Ying Shi smiled and responded, while Zhao Fu, who was behind her, was treated as a servant. Zhao Fu, wait for me here. I have something to do, Ying Shi suddenly said. Zhao Fu nodded and watched as Ying Shi walked to the front of the hall. There were a few elderly people and a few young people, most likely the successors of the Ying family's other branches. Zhao Fu stood at the center of the hall, and no one paid any attention to him. Zhao Fu did not mind at all, and he went to a secluded corner to avoid attracting as much attention as possible. You're Zhao Fu? Suddenly, a voice sounded out from behind him, and Zhao Fu curiously turned to look. It was a woman who was 1 or 2 years older than Zhao Fu. She was wearing a red dress, and her hair was tied up in a bun. She had red lips, and her facial features were quite beautiful, somewhat androgynous. She was breathtaking, heroic, and gave off a trace of domineeringness. Zhao Fu recognized this woman. She was the student president of his university, and she was called Wu Qingyang. He had met her a few times in the past, and he had never thought that he would meet her here. Zhao Fu nodded and called out, Student President. Wu Qingyang smiled as she walked over and said, There's no need to call me that here. Just call me by my name. I was quite surprised when you dropped out of university, and I never thought that I would meet you here. Zhao Fu was also quite surprised to see her here, but what surprised him even more was that she had noticed him. From what Zhao Fu could remember, he had only met her a few times. You also have the Ying family's bloodline? Wu Qingyang walked over to Zhao Fu's side, and when she saw Zhao Fu's surprised expression, she lightly smiled as she asked, You also have the Ying family's bloodline? This wasn't much of a secret, so Zhao Fu nodded. At the same time, he asked curiously, You also have the Ying family's bloodline? Wu Qingyang lightly shook her head as she replied, I don't have the Ying family's bloodline. I have the Wu family's bloodline. Wu family? Zhao Fu didn't know which Wu family in history he was referring to, and he couldn't figure it out. Qingyang. At that moment, Ying Shi finished her work and called out to Wu Qingyang, who was standing next to Zhao Fu. Wu Qingyang turned and smiled at Ying Shi as she said, Lil Shi. Seeing that the two women seemed quite familiar with each other, Zhao Fu didn't say anything else and stood there. Ying Shi walked over and looked at Wu Qingyang and Zhao Fu as she smiled and said, I wanted to introduce you two to each other. I didn't think that you already knew each other. Lil Shi, you're saying that the person from before was Zhao Fu? Wu Qingyang turned to look at Zhao Fu in surprise as she asked Ying Shi. Ying Shi smiled and nodded as she nodded. Wu Qingyang thought about it and understood, and she smiled as well. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.